Chapter 901 Origin. Chapter 901 Origin _ Many heaven flames were bound under rules of nature. They were brought into a mysterious, unknown area together with the immemorial demonic flame. Nobody could enter or sense the mysteries of this place. Shi Yan had a soul connection with the heaven flames, so he could use the heaven flame's soul energy, fluctuation, to sense that something strange was happening in that place, something that the naked eye couldn't see. He could use his soul consciousness to grab something for a while. Earth and heaven energy in that place was strange and had clear movement. It seemed that if a warrior cultivated there, he would simply receive the true meanings of a power Upanishad. In that place, powers Upanishad could explain themselves in magical ways. If the soul of a warrior could get in there, the warrior could use this method to explain their powers and study further. He would eventually reach a profound level of understanding his power Upanishad. The best place for the warriors to cultivate. Shi Yan's eyes brightened. He couldn't press down the hope in his heart, and he couldn't thank the ring spirit enough for its wide vision. It's hard to join the battle between the heaven flames. You can't do it. Na Exayan glanced at him, speaking sincerely. However, I heard that you could use your soul energy to strengthen the heaven flames. If it's true, I advise you not to hold it back. I think you will receive a great benefit from this. Why do you seem to be so familiar with heaven flames? Sure, Yen didn't understand this. You had never returned to the ancestral land. According to legends, only the ancient continent with an origin could have such strange living beings like the heaven flames. How do you know about them that well? Na Exayan contemplated for a while, his face complicated and inexplicable. Then he said faintly, I was once close to a heaven flame. Shi Yan gawked. Ouyang Luo Shuang put up her guard. From the conversation between Shi Yan and Na Exayan, she knew that Na Exayan wasn't a native warrior of the Grace mainland. She was too curious, and now Na Exayan said that he used to be close to a heaven flame, which made her listen to them more seriously. It's true that only the ancient continents with origin can generate the heaven flames, Na Exayan looked at Shi Yan, explaining. But only our ancestral land was not the only ancient continent with an origin. There is a life star with an origin in our star area. When I was young, I had traveled there. That place was hazardous, totally different from our ancestral land. I found a strange flame there. It has its own consciousness. I wanted to capture it. Too bad. Someone had attacked me at that time. My soul altar was almost broken. Sigh. Na Exayan sighed, shaking his head begrudgingly. I was too young at that time. I knew nothing about the heaven flames, and I was impulsive. If I had gone with the knowledge I had today, it would have been different. Why? Shi Yan was surprised. I wanted to force it to fuse with me. However, I underestimated the grade of that flame. It tricked me. Na Exayan forced a smile. While the heaven flame and I were battling with our souls, someone ambushed me. I got hurt badly. He took the heaven flame and left me almost dead. Na Exayan didn't want to continue. At this point, he proactively switched the topic. You do have good fortune. I can't believe you can gather so many heaven flames. Shi Yan chuckled. My fortune isn't bad indeed. Grace mainland had 10 heaven flames. Today, Shi Yan had 7 out of 10 staying together with his soul in his soul altar, becoming part of his powers. Shi Yan had more than 1 heaven flame, something that ordinary warriors had yearned for their whole life. If it wasn't destiny, what was it? I hope you can succeed. Na Exayan nodded, lowering his voice. You and your heaven flames aren't in its combined form. Even if your heaven flames fail, your soul won't perish. However, getting hurt is unavoidable. You should be careful and find a countermeasure. I will. Shi Yan didn't say more. Right next to Na Exayan and Ouyang Luo Shuang, he sat down quietly, closing his eyes and using his soul consciousness to travel between spaces. He was a little bit confused. The earth flame hadn't returned. In this critical moment, If the earth flame had received his message, it would have answered, wouldn't it have? However, Shi Yan couldn't feel the earth flame's aura. Has something unexpected happened to it? His thought flickered, and a drop of jewel-like garnet blood seeped through his fingertip and exploded. A space of faint blood suddenly turned into only one beam shooting toward a space slit ahead of him. He had consumed one drop of immortal demon blood to search for the earth flame based on the subtle and miracle connection between their souls. Shortly after, an exploding halo was reflected in Shi Yan's sea of consciousness. Shi Yan's face was cold but serious. However, he was shuddering inwardly. His power Upanishad changed, creating the space god domain. Different abilities of space power were crossing his sea of consciousness. Then he found a signal, reaching his finger to touch the void in some direction. Space energy, fluctuation, suddenly surged from his fingertip. A space partition covered by his god domain slowly projected an upside-down image. It became visible shortly. Space inverted image was an ability of space power Upanishad. That image became brighter and clearer. They saw clusters of red flames moving in the image. In the next moment, the image stopped shaking. They saw that it was a place full of lava and fire. The earth flame flew through scorching lava, heading to the deepest part of Earth's core. It seemed like it had found something magical there. The Earth's core wasn't watertight. It had slits and cracks. Shi Yan's space inverter image in his god domain was showing layers of law going through many fine slits and cracks in Earth's core. Along the way, he could see many massive chunks of crystal. However, they didn't have any bit of energy remaining. Thick layers of crystals filled each corner of Earth's core. The earth flame was moving like a shuttle through the glacier. It became harder to dig further. Eventually, it crossed the crystals, moving into an area of a floating fire vortex. That fire vortex had a warm and tender energy, emitting ivory flames. Clouds drifted and stayed together, making it look more like a dream with countless marvelous scenes. Inside that flaming vortex, a miniature world was portrayed using light, fire, clouds, and mist. Concentrating his mind, Shi Yan's eyes brightened. That miniature world was Grace Mainland. The Quiet Could clan, the divine great land, seas and lands were resized tens of thousands of times. Now it was as big as a rubber ball revolving inside the flaming vortex. That flaming vortex bound that pocket-sized world, constantly taking in the energy of that world, which made it dimmer and dimmer. Beams of ivory flame shot out, falling into the eye of the flaming vortex. Na Xian and Ouyang Luoshuang were baffled, watching that upside-down image. They looked attentive as if they were considering something. Primal chaos, sacred flame. Shortly after, a thought of the earth flame was sent from a deep place in the earth's core, which exploded in his head. Shi Yan was shaken, his face frightened. He couldn't help but shout, "Primal chaos, sacred flame. It's the primal chaos, sacred flame. Is it a heaven flame too?" Na Xian asked bewilderedly. Shi Yan pointed at the flaming vortex in his inverted image, his visage serious. It's the primal chaos, sacred flame. In the Grace Mainland, it's ranked first. Na Xian was perplexed for a while before he hastened to ask. The Earth's inner core of Grace Mainland, the deepest place underground. Shi Yan gave a low shout. Na Xian was shocked, pointing disbelievingly at that pocket-sized world inside the flaming vortex. The origin. It's the origin of the ancient continent. That heaven flame is absorbing origin energy. No wonder why earth and heaven energy in this continent has been running out so quickly. Shi Yan and Ouyang Luoshuang were baffled. I've never seen the origin before, but I've heard about it. The origin is the core of an archaic continent. It looks like a miniature of that continent. It's very mysterious and marvelous at the same time with many powerful abilities. However, the most important thing is that an ancient continent with an origin can proactively gather energy from outer space. The origin that had stayed in the Earth's inner core of the ancient continent for billions of years of accumulation could gather a tremendous amount of Earth and heaven energy for that continent. The origin of our ancestral land is very small, too small indeed. But now the primal chaos scared flame is absorbing the origin energy. No wonder why the energy here has been running out rapidly, said Naexayan with a serious face. How is the origin formed? Will it be worn out? Shi Yan was also shocked. No one knows how the origin is formed. While it's gathering energy, it will also consume some. The Grace mainland has existed for quite a long time, and the earth and heaven energy used to be extremely abundant. Of course, the origin has to have consumed a lot. That heaven flame is tyrannical. It knows how to take in the origin energy. It'll be really tough to deal with it. Naexan took a deep breath, then said sincerely, "It'll bring you a lot of trouble." "I'll be in trouble." Shi Yan was baffled. In the next moment, he knew what Naexan meant. The earth flame had sent only one thought before it jumped into the flaming vortex. That vortex then dragged it into its core. Right after that, the primal chaos, sacred flame, and the earth flame disappeared into an unrecognizable place under the power of nature's rules. The area that warriors could only use soul consciousness to sense a little bit now gathered all heaven flames of Grace mainland. The origin was freed from the confinement of the flaming vortex. This fist-sized globe was still spinning, floating in the middle of a thick layer of crystals. Shi Yan's space-inverted image could still project it. "Where did that heaven flame get the origin?" asked Ouyang Luoshuang all of a sudden. Shi Yan was surprised. Naexayan knitted his brows. "You don't want to get that origin? The Grace mainland's energy is running out. Since that origin is so small, it doesn't have a significant function. It would be better if we can absorb its magical powers." Ouyang Luoshuang looked at Shi Yan. "According to what my inheritance told me, when we enter the original God, with the support of the origin, the original soul to be formed will be very marvelous. We can also transform the essence Qi. It was also God power. Little girl, you do have great ambitions." Naexayan snorted. "You're at the ethereal God realm. To you, the origin is just an ingredient to refine treasures. You can't merge it with your soul anymore. Furthermore, you're from the giant clan. You won't do such a thing, will you?" Ouyang Luoshuang exhaled slightly. Her clear but extremely cold eyes sparkled intimidatingly. She seemed to have a vehement desire to get that origin. If the origin fuses with the heaven flame and releases the origin energy, it can revive the Grace mainland. Naexayan looked at Shi Yan. "That is correct," Shi Yan nodded, speaking to Ouyang Luoshuang. "I'm sorry. If I get it, it will benefit the entire continent. But if you get it, it will benefit only yourself. I'm sorry." As soon as he finished, Shi Yan tore through space and left. Chapter 902 The Heaven Flame That Ranks First. Chapter 902 The Heaven Flame That Ranks First. A space crack opened. Shi Yan jumped in immediately, disappearing in just a blink of an eye. Ouyang Luoshuang gawked, dropping her jaw. Naexayan was astounded. Too direct and resolute, wasn't it? The origin was the most magical and incredible inner core of the ancient continents. It was priceless to any warriors. Ouyang Luoshuang knew it, and so did Naexan. Previously, Shi Yan had shown that he wasn't interested in that thing. After the other two had explained its key features, he took action immediately. His change of mind was so fast it surprised the others a lot. Shi Yan left right after he finished speaking. When the others had finally processed what he said, he had already disappeared. "Precursor, don't you want to have it?" Ouyang Luoshuang frowned. looking at Na Exan of the giant clan. At your realm, although you don't need to merge the origin with your soul, it still brings you great benefits. You really don't want to take it? Na Exan beamed a faint smile. As I said, if he gets it and uses it in the future, he can revive Grace Mainland. In my hands, it will only be a normal treasure. Of course, it will provide significant support, but I can't make Grace Mainland energetic once again to gather more earth and heaven energy. Thus, I'm willing to let him have it. Na Exan was calm and tender. He smiled warmly without any gleam of discontent. He seemed to be very happy with this situation. However, Ouyang Luoshuang was unfulfilled, and she gritted her teeth. Unclear light sparkled in her clear but cold eyes. First, you can't locate the origin fast enough. Second, even if you can find the origin, you aren't strong enough to be Shi Yan's rival. Na Exan smiled, speaking deliberately. So you shouldn't think about it anymore. You've received the inheritance and the incipient extent. You're very lucky already. You also have an extraordinary innate endowment. Once you've entered the original God realm, you will have admirable attainments. I don't want to lose! Ouyang Luoshuang's eyes became complex all of a sudden. When I first knew him, he wasn't worth mentioning. His realm was too low that it was funny to me. However, after just 10 years, he has surpassed me. Pausing for a while, her face became bitter. I used to think that after I got out of my seal of 1,000 years, I would be able to step on the highest summit and become the new outstanding talent of Grace Mainland. Unexpectedly, he has towered over us all. When I got the inheritance from the incipient extent and combined it with my power Upanishad, I thought I could surpass and leave him far behind. I never expected that when we met again, he would also be at the peak of King God realm. I'm always lowered by him. She had been sealed for 1,000 years. During that time, she had accumulated energy of the moonlight. She was a special talent that arrogantly topped people in the world. It was unexpected that Shi Yan had always been more prominent than her since his debut. He had solved the issues between the forces himself. He had changed the overall situation of endless sea and divine great land. She didn't know what she should comment about his attainments. It was because of her natural arrogance that she couldn't accept that such a character had always been stronger than her. While Shi Yan didn't notice her much, she had considered him her most challenging rival. You're a good girl. Na Exan looked at her deeply. Your starting point isn't bad, and your innate endowment is also of high quality. However, you lack experience. If you fight him in the given circumstances that your realms and powers are equal, you will lose quickly. Regarding bloody practical battles, you can't compete against him. That kid has a brutal, murderous aura. I don't know how many people he has killed. Can you be his rival? Said Na Exan seriously. Ouyang Luoshuang was dispirited, as if she got hit at her weakest point. Indeed, talking about ruthless deeds, she could never compare to Shi Yan. Shi Yan's progress was built off of bloody battles. He had tried his best in each battle. Afterward, he had accumulated many experiences. Honestly, I think you guys would be a perfect match, Na Exan said all of a sudden, laughing loudly. You both have outstanding innate talents, your realms aren't too different, and your fortunes aren't bad. If you can be together. Ouyang Luoshuang blushed, rolling her eyes at Na Exan. I didn't think that you giants will also babble about this. Na Exan chuckled naturally. Forget it. I won't compete against him this time. Just let him get the origin. Harumph. I will depend on my power. I will not lag behind him. Ouyang Luo, Shuang mumbled. Deep in Earth's inner core of Grace Mainland. Shi Yan frowned, standing upright by the origin. Electric-like light flashed in his eyes. He didn't know how to take the origin. The origin looked like a chaotic globe, spinning between the crystals. It was covered by tens of thousands of gray air layers. Each air layer had an intimidating energy, fluctuation that frightened him. He didn't dare to act rashly. He was told about the magical features of the origin, but no one had explained to him how to take it. Billions of years have passed, and Grace Mainland had given birth to countless geniuses, and none of them knew how to take this marvelous origin. If someone did know, why was the origin still here? Did it hide any perilous traps which prevented people from touching the origin, even though they all knew how precious it was? Thoughts flashed through his mind. Still, he didn't dare to do anything recklessly. Pondering for a while, he tried to connect the blood vein ring's ring spirit. His thought traveled like beams of light, entering the blood vein ring. He extended his soul consciousness to find the aura of the ring spirit. Are you here? He sent his soul consciousness. There was no response. The blood vein ring had exhausted its energy to help him get rid of the restriction of God-perishing land, which helped him summon the divine sword from Grace Mainland to the forbidden land in Raging Flame Star area. Afterward, it went dormant. It hadn't woken up yet. The ring spirit didn't answer him. Shi Yen frowned, looking at that origin. He didn't dare to act rashly without having a clear solution. At the same time, his soul consciousness, which connected to the heaven flame, showed him that the situation was getting worse. 7 out of 10 known heaven flame of the Grace Mainland had connected and was interlinked to him. However, in this battle, even when his 7 heaven flame had joined hands, they seemed to not be getting the upper hand. The immemorial demonic flame had merged with the purgatory true flame, advancing its level to level 8. The primal chaos sacred flame had been dormant for so many years in the earth's inner core. It also took the origin. Sure, Yen didn't know its real level. He closed his eyes, trying to sense with a grimace. The primal chaos sacred flame in that magical, unknown area was even more intimidating than the immemorial demonic flame, pressing its 7 flames. The last flame that had entered this place took the biggest initiative that it even made the immemorial demonic flame confused. At this moment, the immemorial demonic flame seemed to have a tacit agreement with the other 7 heaven flames. They had joined hands and attacked the primal chaos sacred flame together. Shi Yen was stern, suddenly recognizing that the prima chaos sacred flame was the most dangerous flame among the heaven flames. It was worth its status as the highest rank. Sure, Yen suddenly remembered the legends of this heaven flame. The primal chaos sacred flame was a flame that was formed naturally when earth and heaven began. Just like strong living beings in the immemorial era, it could cultivate and create life. It could resurrect the dead and reignite the flame of life one more time. This heaven flame ranked first. It could cultivate by itself, and it could even create lives by kindling the flame of life. Shi Yen was shocked. The heaven flame did deserve its first-place rank. The immemorial demonic flame and the other heaven flames had joined hands to deal with the prima chaos sacred flame in that magical land. Although they were fighting under the rules of heaven flames, they couldn't gain the upper hand. Not only that, within 1 hour, he continually received the soul message from the corpse vanishing flame. I can't resist it. Please help. Give me your life energy. The corpse vanishing flame flashed on and off. It sounded like a heavily wounded warrior who couldn't even breathe. The needed support that it called help for was Shi Yan's life energy, the pure energy of his soul. Sure, Yen didn't hesitate. He darkened his face silently in front of the origin. His consciousness hovered when the soul altar released his soul energy, seeping into the unknown, magical area. His life energy slid fast. The corpse vanishing flame's aura was condensed slowly as if it had actually restored most of its power. I need power. More power. Power. I want power. For the time being, disorderly soul fluctuation like silver needles stabbed his head. The soul messages from the heaven flames were rushed and chaotic. Sure, Yen felt pain in his soul. He tried to press down the uncomfortable feelings. He released his soul energy, turning it into pure soul energy and pouring them towards the heaven flames. His life energy was drifting away. His god body was shrouded in light, but he was exhausted. What was being consumed wasn't the essence, chi, negative energy, or star energy. It was the pure soul energy of the God Soul in his sea of consciousness, which was responsible for the God Soul's functions and its very existence. To a warrior, more blood chi strengthened his power, not the size or intimidating presence of the God Soul. When the warrior died, as long as his soul altar wasn't broken and his God Soul was still there, he would still have a chance to restore or even revive. However, if the God Soul died, the power of the warrior's flesh body would vanish into earth and heaven. It was the rules of nature. The warrior would then die completely. As his pure soul energy was given away, Yen became exhausted, his eyes empty. Eventually, his consciousness started to blur. He didn't have more energy to give to the heaven flames, which had a connection with his soul. The rest had to be used to support his soul. The primal chaos sacred flame that appeared the last couldn't swallow them. However, it was still struggling. Sure, Yen still gave more of his soul energy. He knew that his heaven flames were in a bad situation in the battle between the heaven flames, and it was getting worse. The advantage of bigger numbers wasn't effective in this battle. The 7 heaven flames couldn't rival the primal chaos sacred flame by themselves. With the immemorial demonic flame and Yan's continual supply of soul energy, they could maintain an equal force against the opponent. Before they got the final result, Yen would still need to give more soul energy. However, he knew his limitations. He couldn't endure for a long time. He became exhausted and his consciousness started to blur again. He couldn't help but look at the spinning origin next to him. Chapter 903 Sees the Origin. Chapter 903 Sees the Origin, Dead Soul, Mountain Range. Na Xian and Ouyang Luo Shuang stood next to each other as they were watching the sky with serious visages. A shiny green light that hovered above Ouyang Luo Shuang. A green halo shimmered, repeatedly enlarging and shrinking. It was the dead soul's evil lair. Because the immemorial demonic flame had left the evil lair, Ouyang Luo Shuang could take control of it now. It also meant that she could eventually occupy the incipient extent. Ouyang Luo Shuang narrowed her eyes slightly, her face cold but bright. She was spinning her soul altar, combining her soul energy and the incipient extent, creating a wonderful resonance. The marvelous energy fluctuations emitted from her body. The evil lair bounced faster and faster. Na Xian frowned, glancing at her. It's no use. You can't find that unrecognizable place. Only the warrior who has fused with heaven flames can get in there after his heaven flame has swallowed all the other flames. And you don't have any heaven flames. Even if you cultivated space power, you wouldn't find it. Ouyang Luo Shuang's bright eyes dimmed, and she sighed bitterly. Indeed, I can't find a trace. Did you also receive the method to get the origin from the inheritance you receive from the incipient extent? Na Xian suddenly asked, gazing at her. As far as I've known, only a few of the best warriors knew how to take the origin. I could see that you were impatient to get it. Do you know the method to seize it? Can we not just combine it with our God Soul? Ouyang Luo Shuang was confused. Is there something else to be done? Na Xian was surprised, laughing oddly. Oh, it turns out that you don't know. You little girl, you're lucky that you didn't enter Earth's inner core. Haha, if you act rashly, your soul will perish, leaving nothing behind. Ouyang Luo Shuang discolored. Please enlighten me. I don't know either. Na Xian forced a smile, shaking his head. The archaic continents which have an origin are so rare. There's so few that we can count them with our fingers, even in a vast star area. In my knowledge, there were so many intimidating existences that wanted to take the origin. More often, they were out of their place and acted rashly. None of them had a decent end. He doesn't know how either. Ouyang Luo Shuang was shocked. She jolted up, rushing. He's a fool who entered that place recklessly. If he impulsively takes it, will he end up perishing his soul, like you said? Na Xan frowned. Would he be that impulsive? You should have told him clearer. Ouyang Luo Shuang snorted. I'm afraid that he would take it immediately. You could have harmed him. Her words were heavy. He isn't the one who likes to take risks. He will be all right. Na Xan contemplated for a while. The origin of this land has existed for billions of years. This continent has given birth to countless outstanding warriors. It's still there, which means none of them had succeeded in taking it. Of course, it has something marvelous. He should know that, right? If he didn't know it and took it deliberately, what would happen then? Shouted Ouyang Luo Shuang. I'm afraid it won't be a good ending. Na Xan darkened his face. I think he wouldn't be in trouble. His heaven flames got the origin energy. He should have something unique to connect to the heaven flames. I think he will be all right. You better hope you're right. Ouyang Luo Shuang's face was cold. It seemed like she didn't want to see something bad happen to Shi Yan. Na Xan hesitated for a while. He seemed to recognize how serious the situation could be. He pondered, closing his eyes. A soul fluctuation covering the entire Grace mainland was released from him, running directly into the earth. 10 seconds later, Na Xan opened his eyes, giving a low shout. I found him. His soul consciousness had pierced through tens of thousands of miles underground to connect to Shi Yan. Don't take the origin impulsively. If you don't know how, just watch how it changes. Na Xan's soul consciousness thundered in Shi Yan's sea of consciousness. Shi Yan's consciousness was blurry. He woke up, his body shaking. He had consumed too much life energy. The fierce battle between the heaven flames was much more dangerous than what he had thought. It wasn't like the previous one. The primal chaos sacred flame and the immemorial demonic flame were the two high-ranked heaven flames. Their intellect was clear, and their life forms had ascended to perfection. They were the most marvelous creatures in this world. The immemorial demonic flame was at level 8, which level was the flame that could scare it, the flame that ranked first among the heaven flames. Level 9. The top level of the heaven flames. A chill current poured into his god's soul from atop his head, covering the sea of consciousness and giving him an extreme fear. At this moment, he recognized that he was too impetuous. He was just at the king god realm, and he thought that he could do anything as he pleased in Grace Mainland, including gathering all the heaven flames. The appearance of the immemorial demonic flame and the primal chaos sacred flame were powerful slaps to his face. He now knew how perilous this kind of creature was when they reached the high level. Na Xan's soul consciousness came quickly and left even more quickly. It disappeared shortly after. Shi Yan wore an unusually grim face, while electric-like lights were crossing his mind. He was trying his best to find a way to support the heaven flames. I warned him. Na Xan took a deep breath, smiling reluctantly in the world outside. It's not too late. He hasn't done anything. With my reminder, he won't act rashly. Ouyang Luo Shuang exhaled in relief. She considered Shi Yan a thorny section of her martial path. She had used Shi Yan as the target for her cultivation. If Shi Yan died, she would have no one to compete against. At least, I have to defeat him myself. Then he can die, thought Ouyang Luo Shuang. The fierce battle of the heaven flames became more ferocious. Staying deep underground, Shi Yan could still feel the ice-cold flame and the earth flame shivering anxiously. Before the primal chaos sacred flame appeared, the battle between the 7 heaven flames and the immemorial demonic flame could be considered an equal battle. He didn't need to supplement his soul energy. However, when the heaven flame which ranked first appeared, not only the 7 heaven flames, but also the brutal, immemorial demonic flame had to change its opponent. However, even when the heaven flames joining hands together with Shur-Yan's life energy, they seemed unable to win. The primal chaos sacred flame had been in Earth's inner core, seizing the origin energy for so many years. It was unimaginably powerful indeed. A wisp of Na-Exian's soul consciousness had awakened Shur-Yan. However, after several minutes, due to his continually consumed soul energy, he felt dizzy again, and his consciousness started to drift away. At this moment, Shur-Yan figured out another meaning in Na-Exian's words. Origin. It's true. It should be the origin, and it must be the origin. His eyes brightened, gazing at the origin in front of him, gazing at the most marvelous thing in this world. His desire was hard to calm down. He has no choice. The heaven flames had to take all of his life energy, or his soul altar had to be broken and be vanishing. Or he could let things go and let the primal chaos sacred flame take what it wanted and swallow all the heaven flames. Or he will forcefully take the origin energy and see if he can change everything. All the heaven flames born in Grace mainland were closely related to the origin. The life form of each heaven flame depended on the origin. If he sees the origin, will he be able to change all these things? This thought arose once more, and it was like a haunting ghost that wouldn't be driven away. As his soul energy drifted, his consciousness became hazy. He chose to forget Na-Exian's reminder, while the thought of seizing the origin was surging vehemently. Eventually, when he couldn't gather his consciousness anymore, he had completely forgotten Na-Exian's reminder. His shivering finger touched his forehead. The soul altar looked like a precious tower with many tears flying out from his head. The vast sea of consciousness, the magical powers, Upanishad tear, the God soul, the flame of life, they piled up marvelously and beautifully. His God soul floated on the tear of power Upanishad, flickering like a running candle in the light, which would extinguish in any minute. Although he was in such a bad condition, his soul altar seemed unaware of the danger, flying towards the origin. Sizzle. Shur-Yan's soul altar collided with a layer of hazy gray air. The traces of soul consciousness in the sea of consciousness were burned down instantly. Shortly, 1/10 of his vast sea of consciousness was consumed. He felt a pain that he couldn't endure from deep inside his soul. It was like a sharp weapon stabbing his brain. This kind of pain couldn't be described. Even if he was good at enduring pain and suffering, he couldn't stand it anymore. His God soul swayed, and it was about to vanish. His dull, blurry consciousness woke up under such pain. Also at that moment, the blood mark on the forehead of his God soul suddenly sparkled. An electric-like light bloomed dazzlingly from the mark. A dusty memory fell like rain, running directly to a deep place of his soul. Heaven flame refining godly technique. Boom! The fantasy sky ring on his finger exploded. All kinds of cultivating materials that he had to spend a lot of effort to collect floated from the broken ring. Thunder, which, wood, bloody soul divine water, 5 elements crystal marrow. The 3 main ingredients and many auxiliary materials flooded his sea of consciousness, congregating there. The gray air intruding the sea of consciousness seemed to stimulate something. The blood mark on the God soul sent out a rainbow light, covering all main and auxiliary materials. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. The frightening electric light and the divine light gathered. All the materials scattered, turning into a thick, chaotic mist that covered the entire sea of consciousness and the soul altar under the effects of heaven flame, refining godly technique. The pain that could be carved into his bones disappeared abruptly. The layers of gray air couldn't threaten him anymore. Shur-Yan was happy, but he didn't dare to linger. He controlled the soul altar that directly crossed many gray air layers. He proceeded to seize the origin. As the heaven flame, refining godly technique, was processing, the most magical energy in earth and heaven expanded from the soul altar, seizing the origin. At that moment, Yan's soul altar and the origin formed a connection. Then, a light radiated as his soul altar and the origin both appeared at the place where heaven flames were fighting fiercely. The battle of the heaven flames was now taking place right in front of him. At the most critical moment, Yan stormed in. Chapter 904. Witness billions of years pass by. Chapter 904. Witness billions of years pass by. This was the unrecognizable area that Na Exen had mentioned. This place was by the chaotic space basin. 5-colored light meandered beautifully like long rivers crossing the sky. Light dots fell like unceasing meteors. Each moving light hit a power Upanishad, including the derivatives of 5 elements: metal, wood, water, fire, earth, gravity, true light, death and life, space, reincarnation, and more. They were all mysterious and subtle, beyond people's imagination. This place didn't have earth and heaven energy, and the rivers carrying the powers Upanishad didn't have any attacking power. However, the mysteries of those powers didn't need the energy to urge. They could move naturally under some rules of earth and heaven. It was like a dream. 10 flames in different colors and different auras were diverging in different areas, just like the sea of light. They were trying to devour each other. His soul altar floated above the center of the heaven flames battle, which was at the critical moment. However, his soul altar didn't look normal. It had divided into 2 regions. The sea of consciousness was the lowest tier. Above it was the heaven flames and the powers Upanishad. This was where the soul altar divided. The god soul hovered above the power Upanishad tier, moving continually with the blood mark. The god soul was a projection of his god soul with the burning flame of life that looked magnificently beautiful. Floating above the heaven flames tier was the origin. The origin and his god soul were in 2 different areas. The origin didn't have layers of gray air circling it. Now, it had only the rare and precious cultivating materials. The heaven flame refining godly technique made thunder which would, 5 elements crystal marrow, blood soul divine water, and other auxiliary materials cover the origin like a membrane. The materials gradually dissolved and the magical energy seeped into the origin. His god soul still controlled the heaven flame refining godly technique, trying to merge the origin with his god soul. However, he didn't succeed. Whenever the origin came close to establishing a connection with the god soul, an unknown force that went against rules of earth and heaven would appear and forcefully cut the connection between Yan and the origin. He couldn't fuse with it. It seemed like something went wrong with the heaven flame refining godly technique that was instructed by the ring spirit. The origin couldn't merge with his god soul. After many failed attempted, Yan quieted down to analyze. While his hands were tied, the blood mark in his god soul had a strange commotion. A flow of magical energy fluctuation was generated from the blood mark, flooding the god soul. The pure soul energy shot out, forcefully taking something from Yan's god soul. It was an illusory shadow, a replica of his god soul that was identical to his. Parts of the soul, thoughts, traces, memories, and even the foundation of life were withdrawn from his god soul. The powerful energy of the blood mark then dragged it toward the origin. Soul dividing. A flash of light appeared in his mind, and Yan understood right away. The profundity that the blood mark was using was to divide the soul. It split the soul and duplicated his seals, creating another version of him. The soul that had just been split had taken a large amount of Yan's life energy and his god soul, making him exhausted and feel like he was actually dying. He didn't have any extra bit of energy to observe the situation. The split soul moved toward the origin under the blood mark's urge. That split soul seemed to meet some requirements of earth and heaven's rules. It wasn't attacked and directly entered the origin. No gap between them. Boom! The thunder which would sparked. The blood soul divine water, the 5 elements crystal marrow, and other auxiliary materials dissolved rapidly. Strange energies started to seep into the origin from the membrane they had formed. Shi Yan's split soul had fused into one with that origin. Their fusion hadn't finished yet, though. During the progress, the main and auxiliary materials melted, pouring into the origin, which facilitated and perfected the fusion between the split soul and the origin. At that moment, glum and mournful emotions and auras of archaic times emerged from a deep place in his soul. Billions of years ago, a life star floated in a desolate galaxy, continuously taking an energy from outer space, which gave vitality to it. After an unknown period, the barren life star started to have seas and foliage. Some kind of outer space energy fell into that life star like giant meteors. It then stimulated the profundities of earth and heaven, which gave birth to formidable, giant, immemorial creatures. The immemorial creatures were born with the gift of knowing how to utilize powers, absorbing energy to strengthen themselves and advancing their realms. Then one day, due to the competition for earth and heaven energy, wars exploded between immemorial creatures, sweeping the entire life star. Many immemorial creatures fell. The perception of immemorial creatures which won the war became more profound. As they understood the truth of earth and heaven, they didn't want to limit themselves to only a life star. They then entered outer space to seek for utmost power. This continent quieted down the second time. The immemorial era ended. Huge transformations happened. 100,000 years passed hurriedly. One day, a bunch of strange light fell from outer space, exploding in the sky. New vitality came to the continent. Although the immemorial creatures had fallen for many years, some bodies still remained. Receiving the mysterious vitality, they started to change silently. Due to their different races, the dead immemorial creatures transformed, spending thousands of years for new developments and giving birth to new lives. God clan, demon clan, monster clan, giant clan, dark spirit clan, corpse clan, human clan, sea clan, ghost mark clan, dark clan. Bizarre races originated from the dead bodies of different immemorial creatures. With different origins, they diverged into different races. The archaic continent had creatures for the second time. The ancient time started. As they were from different races, they had different cultivation methods, so they didn't bring grudges or create tension. They had lived in peace for dozens of thousands of years. Then, the second war took place. The God clan became very powerful. The other 9 clans united to exile the God clan. Many experts had fallen. Then, the 9 clans lived together in the ancient continent. The ancient time ended. Human clan was the smallest and weakest clan. However, they had many dangerous and adaptive features. They could grow rapidly. They could breed and mix their blood with almost every race. Due to their bad innate endowment, they pursued intelligence instead. Members of the human clan were smart and they were good at strategizing and planning. After blending their blood with different races, human clan eventually had outstanding talents, which were as excellent as other clans. With their super reproducing ability, the human clan multiplied their population, filling each corner of the ancient continent. As the human clan's population had been increasing too much, their demands on natural resources became too burdening, which concerned the other 8 clans. They recognized that a great disaster was about to happen. Another war started for the entire ancient continent. The Antiquity era started. Human clan had depended on their advantages of large numbers and the abilities of their hybrids to gain the upper hand. After the hotshots of the 8 clans had fallen, their next generations were hopeless. Day after day, the human clan pressed on their advantages, winning battle after battle. The populations of the other 8 clans continued to decrease. The human clan ultimately won the war. The other clans were sealed or fled away to the smallest spaces in outer space, leaving the archaic continent to human clan. The wind changed. Whenever a new era arrived giving birth to new generations of experts, a war would take place on the continent. The ancient continent had experienced the immemorial era, the ancient time, and the antiquity era. After 3 big epochs, the continent was shattered and worn out. The energy it had accumulated for billions of years was about to exhaust it. The origin couldn't do anything as the ancient continent had come to the last phase of its energy cycle. During the 3 eras, the origin had the chances to diverge its power to fuse with different creatures and create heaven flames. The heaven flames were the origin's hosts. It wanted those heaven flames to be stronger. It hoped that, even if it vanished, it could still leave some of its vestiges to this world through the heaven flames. The ancient, desolate, and mournful overflowed from the origin, mixing with Shurian's split soul. At this moment, Shurian became the origin, and this continent his body. He was like an audience watching the whole life of this ancient continent from birth, thriving and then vanishing. As his soul and the origin were fused, those images reflected in his heart, becoming his life seal, which stayed forever in the deep place of his soul, memories that he would never forget. Today he had fused with the origin, and he seemed to become the real master of this ancient continent. This continent had become like his child. He had just watched his child grow up, age, and come to the end of life. Eventually it dried up and died. This was a natural cycle. From deep inside his soul, the ancient continent had finished by projecting the recent events and today's commotion until this very moment. Sure, Yen suddenly found that while he didn't notice, his split soul had completely fused with the origin. Now, it had replaced the origin to be the new master of the ancient continent. However, his newborn baby was already aged and senile. It was the sunset behind the mountain. It would pass away soon. The origin was the most mysterious existence in this world, and it wasn't a still object. Its life form was totally different from normal creatures. It had witnessed everything. The 3 main materials and many more auxiliary materials had all melted, turning into a fluid that has been absorbed into his core and the origin. Now he had another soul on the heaven flames tier of his soul altar. It was a chaotic sphere, moving continuously as if it would never cease. The God soul and that origin soul seemed to become his left and right brain, respectively. The 2 souls weren't independent but connected to each other. They had the same connection, thoughts, traces of memory, and the foundation of life. Yen knew that the chaotic sphere soul was also within him. The fierce battle between the 10 heaven flames was still happening. However, when he looked at them this time, he had a different feeling. Those 10 heaven flames were part of his origin soul. They were like 10 wisps of his pure soul consciousness. When this thought appeared in his mind, the sphere origin soul suddenly generated a suction force. His combined origin soul had gripped and pulled the 10 heaven flames, which were floating everywhere, forcefully towards his soul. The 7 heaven flames, which were connected with him before, took the initiative and entered his sphere origin soul without any hesitation. Then his power multiplied and the suction force increased several times. The immemorial demonic flame and the primal chaos scared flame tried hard to resist his force. However, after he had fused with the 7 heaven flames, they couldn't struggle anymore. Eventually they were pulled into that sphere of origin soul. 10 different wisps of soul memory moved in panic and conflicted with each other inside the origin soul. They were all trying to take the upper hand, showing their traces of life. However, under the power of the origin soul, 10 soul memories and the soul thoughts had become part of his soul. Eventually, they fused with each other, turning into his incomplete traces of life. This was true fusion. Chapter 905, Two Souls. Chapter 905, Two Souls, Underscore. Shi Yan's soul altar was floating in the unrecognizable area. His soul altar divided into two sections with two souls. One of them had a sphere shape with the chaotic energy of the 10 heaven flames within, which was being adjusted and stabilized. The soul above the tier of powers Upanishad was exhausted and dispirited. It was quiet, as if it was trying to feel something in this mysterious area. The mysterious rivers in this place twinkled like stars by his soul altar. Those rivers were filled with energy, fluctuations of different powers, Upanishad. After an unknown period, a river appeared by his soul altar. Shi Yan suddenly pulled his consciousness together, and his soul altar moved accordingly, flying into that river. That river contained space energy fluctuation. The soul altar flew into the middle of the river. Shi Yan felt like he had fallen into layers of chaotic spaces. His soul altar moved like a shuttle, piercing through many doors. He could get through several space doors without any trouble. The soul altar just flashed and slid through them smoothly. It seemed like his understanding of space power Upanishad had reached a certain level, which facilitated him to no longer be stagnant, moving in this place. However, not long afterward, he found trouble. In front of him was a space layer, which was filled with radiant light. It functioned as a barricade to his soul altar. That door had many space lines and patterns moving disorderly. They seemed to hide some truth of earth and heaven. His soul altar had to stop. He tried to make his space energy fluctuate in the same frequency as the space energy of that door. It wasn't an easy task. His god soul was dispirited, gazing at the area with glorious, moving light while trying to adjust the energy fluctuation of his tier of power Upanishad. His soul moved like tentacles, touching the patterns made of disorderly space energy to sense the meaning and new profundities of space. Sure, Yan didn't know how long had passed. He just calmed down and tried to comprehend. After a while of comprehending the meanings, space energy fluctuations in his tier of powers Upanishad had matched the patterns on that door. On that space layer, a door suddenly opened. His soul altar seized the chance and pierced through. A new door appeared similar to the previous one with hidden space mysteries. His soul had touched it once, and he became baffled immediately. Swish! His soul altar was shocked as if the sky had turned upside down. His consciousness became blurry. While his soul was still perplexed, he woke up to see himself in the earth's inner core. However, the origin was no longer in front of him. His soul was tired while his god body had an extreme desire for earth and heaven energy all of a sudden, a desire that he couldn't press down no matter how hard he had tried. He was like a drug-addicted maniac who hadn't received a dose for quite a long time. This crazy yearning was madly burning his will. His soul altar spun rapidly like a vortex, as if it wanted to harvest something. Vaguely, he realized something, his face shocked. In the next moment, the entire ancient continent was projected in his sea of consciousness. He could check any corner of this continent. No one could hide from his observation. In this place, he was the sole god. His finger touched the void, and a space slit appeared in front of him. He flashed and disappeared. After a blink, a space slit appeared above Cold Wind Island of the Endless Sea. Shi Yan emerged from there immediately. Fei Lan, Leona, Ziyao, Feng Rao, and Katua were wandering around Cold Wind Island as if they were observing the magical features of this ancient land. Shi Yan came out of nowhere, landing by Feng Rao and asking her hurriedly, "Do you have divine crystals?" "Yes, I do." Feng Rao was scared. "Are you all right?" "Give them to me. Give me all of them. All the divine crystals." Shi Yan shouted hastily. Feng Rao didn't hesitate, giving him all the divine crystals she had in the fantasy sky ring. They looked like transparent rocks flying towards him. A powerful suction force came from his god body, covering all the divine crystals. The divine crystals stuck on his body like fish scales like his armor. The energy in those divine crystals triggered at once, flowing massively into his god body. Not enough. Shi Yan hastened, saying only that. His body flashed. He disappeared one more time. Give me divine crystals. All of them. He shouted at Ka Tua, who was confused, giving a low shout. Ka Tua was also astounded. However, he didn't say much. He just gave him all the divine crystals in his ring. Those crystals then stuck on Shi Yan's body, like fish scales. Senior, Ka Fu keeps most of the divine crystals. I only have this many, Ka Tua explained. He looked a little bit embarrassed. Shi Yan was baffled for a while, disappearing. Give me divine crystals. All. He appeared by Ziyao. Give me divine crystals. Give me divine crystals. Give me divine crystals. He flashed on and off between Ziyao, Leona, and Carthu, making the same request. Those who knew him generously gave him all the divine crystals they had. The divine crystals then turned into the fish scales that stuck onto his god body. Shortly after, his body looked like one giant chunk of divine crystal. His god body was like a sponge, taking in the energy of the divine crystals massively. Each of the vessels in his body bulged, refining the energy of the divine crystals. All the energy then flooded the essence Qi ancient tree. The essence Qi ancient tree throve rapidly. Its jewel-like branches were weaving thickly as the tree jutted higher and higher. At the same time, Shi Yan took out the heavenly mending pellet he had exchanged from Jester and swallowed it. Shi Yan stayed in the center of Coldwind Island, sitting down by Leona, Fei Lan, and Ziyao. People had recognized this significant event. Feng Rao, Carthu, and Ka Tua also gathered from their areas, surrounding Shi Yan with strange faces. Is he about to break through? Leona looked at Fei Lan as she couldn't confirm this fact. Yeah, he's about to break through to the original God realm. Fei Lan nodded, her face strangely frowning. However, others didn't look like that when they went through their breakthrough. Is it maybe because of the exhausted energy in this continent? So he needs a lot of divine crystals? Ask Ka Tua. Even if there's no beam of energy, using tens of thousands of divine crystals is a little bit exaggerated, right? Feng Rao had a stern visage. Did something unexpected happen? People then looked at Fei Lan. Fei Lan's eyes were filled with immense divine light as she continued observing Shi Yan, not losing track of him for even a moment. Suddenly, she said, he's breaking through. But his tendency doesn't look normal. She screamed all of a sudden. Everybody was frightened as they never imagined her screaming. The thick layer of divine crystals suddenly brightened like electricity winding around Shi Yan. His pores now had a clear suction force that madly absorbed the energy of the divine crystals. Gradually, light spots as glorious as stars shot out from Shi Yan's god body marvelously. It's the light emitting from his acupuncture points. Fei Lan hissed. Everybody was frightened. Breaking through the original god realm could have this much activity from the acupuncture points. Ka Tua's voice trembled as he asked. No one could answer him. I think he's using so much energy from the divine crystals, not just to break through or condense the original spirit. He ate 2 heavenly mending pellets, which can heal even the greatest loss of his soul energy with only 1 piece. After pausing for a while, Fei Lan continued. He seems to have quenched his body, using the acupuncture points to absorb the energy from the divine crystals. I have never seen anyone done it before. Also, I have never heard of anyone breaking through the original God realm with this form. Everybody quieted down. They knew Shi Yan must have undergone some marvelous changes. However, they didn't know whether those changes were good or bad. The only thing they could do was to guard this area to prevent any other people from disturbing Shi Yan's advancement. Cold Wind Island. Shi Yan floated in the center of the island, closing his eyes with his god body, emitting strange energy fluctuations. Tens of thousands of divine crystals shrouded his body, radiating dazzlingly. After the energy had started to pour into his god body, one of his acupuncture points glowed. At the same time, the divine crystals, which contained earth and heaven energy, lost their energy and turned into the ordinary rocks, falling off of his god body. After around 6 hours, half of the divine crystals were exhausted, turning into gray stones and falling off his god body. Not enough. It's obvious that those divine crystals aren't enough. Fei Lan was astounded, hissing, "He needs more divine crystals." Ka Tua, Ziyao, Feng Rao, and Karthu discolored, taking action almost immediately. They scattered, releasing their soul consciousness to find their friends who also came here. Fei Lan took a deep breath, using her vast soul consciousness to contact the giants. She wanted to do something for Shi Yan. Dead Soul, Mountain Range. Na Xian, the giant oldie, was still waiting for something in silence. All of a sudden he jolted and frowned. "He's in Cold Wind Island. Please lend us the divine crystals. Have your tribal members bring them. We promise we will repay all of it." Shi Yan is breaking through. He seems to need a massive amount of earth and heaven energy. However, earth and heaven energy in this continent have been exhausted. He doesn't have enough. Fei Lan sent her soul message to Na Xian's Sea of Consciousness. Why did he go to Cold Wind Island? Ouyang Luo Shuang was confused. Na Xian shook his head, not explaining anything. He squinted, releasing his soul consciousness to contact his fellow giants on this ancient continent. "Whoever is near Cold Wind Island, hurry back to the island and give your divine crystals to our little friends." Many giants received his message. They didn't say anything, pausing their work and going to Cold Wind Island. For hours later, the first giant came. He walked to Fei Lan and asked, "Our tribal oldie asked us, do you need divine crystals?" Fei Lan nodded. That giant smiled honestly, throwing the divine crystals he had to Fei Lan. He had more than 10,000 pieces. Fei Lan was so happy. She used her energy to cover the divine crystals and threw them at Shi Yan's god body. Shi Yan's body then sucked them. The divine crystals stuck on the chunk made of divine crystals. At this moment, the divine crystals stuck on his body have almost all been consumed. Half of 720 acupuncture points in his body were glowing magnificently. However, it seemed that the quantity of divine crystal he had was insufficient. Luckily, after another 2 hours, another clansman of the giant tribe returned. The giant gave Fei Lan divine crystals as Na Xian had asked them to do, and let her throw them to Shi Yan personally. Chapter 906, Original God Realm. Chapter 906, Original God Realm, _ Cold Wind Island, Endless Sea. Shi Yan looked like a small mountain built of divine crystals, floating in the center of this island. Divine crystals of different sizes stuck to his body. The light was moving as the massive energy of the divine crystals continued to pour into his god body. Fei Lan, Leona, Ziyao, Feng Rao, and Ka Tua circled him, their faces strange. Around 10 giants who were around 10 meters tall also stayed nearby to watch him. They were very curious and excited. 7 days passed quickly. During these 7 days, Shi Yan didn't move. His eyes were still closed. It seemed like his soul had wandered to the divine land. However, his god body had continued to absorb the massive amount of energy from the divine crystals. This process seemed to never end. Today, Naexayen took Ouyang Luo Shuang, and they arrived in Cold Wind Island from Dead Soul Mountain Range. At first glance, they saw Shi Yan floating there. Naexayen's eyes brightened like diamonds. He couldn't help but cry, indeed. Ouyang Luo Shuang shivered slightly as bright light sparkled in her eyes. She whispered loudly, "He must have fused with the origin." Naexayen nodded, giving compliments. "I can't believe it. This kid is supernatural. He dared to fuse the heaven flames with the origin. When he breaks into the original God realm, it will be a big happy surprise." Seeing Naexayen arrive, Fei Lan's team came forward, bending their bodies slightly to thank him for his generosity. Naexayen waved his hand, smiling. "Just the divine crystals. No need to mind them. We're also happy to see that our ancestral land could have such a genius." "Tribal oldie, what's going on?" asked a muscular giant. "He has fused with the origin. He's breaking through to the original God realm. When he wakes up, his original spirit will be formed," smiled Naexayen. "Fused with the origin?" Fei Lan's wrinkled face shivered as she was astounded. "This place has an origin." "Of course," Naexayen confirmed, smiling. "Although the origin is small, it does exist. He has such a fortune. He has fused his soul with the origin. Perhaps when he wakes up, he will be the sole god of this continent. Every single thing in this continent won't be able to avoid his soul's extent." Everybody was dumbstruck. "How much do you know about the origin, precursor?" Fei Lan chose her words gingerly, speaking in a low tone. "Our raging flame star area doesn't have any ancient continents with an origin. I've heard from my precursors just a little bit about them. Please enlighten us about the profundities of the origin." Leona, Carthu, and the others also looked at him yearningly. "Ouch!" Naexayen was bewildered. He looked a bit embarrassed. "I don't understand its mysteries thoroughly. Anyway, all we know about the origin are told through generations. However, no one has ever seen it. I can confirm one thing, though. The one who has the origin will become the master of the ancient continent. He will be able to connect the entire continent using his soul." After pausing for a while, Naexayen continued, "Anyway, there's something different. The incipient extent is generated by the soul altar of the warrior, which can be easily controlled to perform different abilities. A warrior with the origin can't do that. However, we have to use millions or billions to count the number of years an ancient continent has existed. The origin is the witness of the long river of history. A warrior with the origin can see the birth, the peak and decline of the said ancient continent. Through that sequence, he will be able to understand some deep meanings of earth and heaven. This kind of encounter helps the warrior in progressing his realm a lot." As soon as he said that, everybody admired while discreetly being surprised. "Anyway, he doesn't look like what I said," said Naexayen. Everybody was stunned, waiting for his next explanation. "Although he has to fuse with the origin, I don't think he has to use so many divine crystals like that, right?" Naexayen wasn't sure. "Look at that amount of divine crystals. Even I can't estimate the pure energy in there. He's just breaking to the original God realm from his king God realm. Why does he need a lot of dense energy like that? What is that light emitted from his acupuncture points?" Apparently, he couldn't see what was happening either. The giant didn't know it, so everybody else could only force a smile and observe the situation. Naexayen was bewildered for a while before he smiled and relaxed. "Seems like this boy knows something beyond our knowledge. Otherwise, we wouldn't see such a phenomenon. Haha, just keep it low and watch the changes." Everybody didn't know what to say. Also, they knew they didn't have any better solution, so they continued to watch Shi Yan. Several days passed. The divine crystals lost their energy and fell off Shi Yan's body. They turned into normal rocks. Some even scattered into dust, scattering away. Gradually, all the divine crystals stuck on his body fell. In the end, dozens of remaining divine crystals still had a little amount of energy. Shi Yan's god body couldn't absorb all the divine crystals, which meant his need of energy had been saturated. Although Shi Yan's god body didn't take more energy, the light projected from his acupuncture points was still dazzling. 720 acupuncture points were spread around his muscles. They were blindingly bright, just like marvelously twinkling stars. His breathing gradually calmed down. It was like his breathing had magically matched with some movement of this archaic continent. It was unknown why people could feel the aura of the earth under their feet from him. It seemed like he had turned into a part of this ancient continent. The most important part. At this moment, everybody now knew that Shi Yan's breakthrough had passed the critical point. He just needed time to finish it. The warrior who fuses with the origin has to condense his essence qi several times more. It should be like a ribbon in the galaxy. It's the god power. Fei Lan took a deep breath, turning to Na Xian and asking for his opinion. So after Shi Yan has broken through, his essence qi will automatically transform into god power. People here had never heard about the god power. Listening to her question, they all turned to Na Xian. Na Xian smiled and nodded. True, he can control the god power in advance because his original spirit has the origin. He paused for a while, looking at Carthu, Xiao, and Katua, speaking sincerely. Although you guys are all at the original god realm, the original spirit he has condensed should be much more magical than yours. I don't know much about it, particularly. I just heard some rumors, so I don't dare say this is certain. God power. Feng Rao's knitted her bold brows. What's the difference? It's the purest form of earth and heaven energy, said Fei Lan. Before we've broken through to the ethereal god realm, the energies in the warriors' bodies are also different due to different races. For example, the demon clan cultivates earth and heaven energy in the form of demon qi. After they've refined it, it will turn into the demon origin. And the ghost mark clan accumulate mysterious yin qi in your body. It's the yin power. The dark clan cultivates 9 serenities qi. It's the dark power. And the monster clan has the monstrous power. Different races have different body structures. Although they are different forms of energy, they originated from the same earth and heaven energy. This condition will last until the warriors have reached the ethereal god realm. Their energies then will be converted to god power. The mighty god power can break the chains of limitation. Warriors with god power can seize any kind of energy. They can absorb demon qi, 9 serenities qi, mysterious yin qi, anything to create the god power. God power can become the combination of different energies or the sublimated form of energy. It's the most primal form of earth and heaven energy. Fei Lan talked slowly, and while she was speaking, she often looked at Na Xian as if she wanted him to confirm that what she was saying was true. Na Xian smiled and continued to nod to confirm her knowledge. After she finished, he summarized. Usually when a warrior is breaking through the ethereal god realm, he can convert his energy to god power. However, a few people with amazing destinies who got some mysterious but marvelous encounters can create god power in the original god realm. And Shi Yan is this sort of person. Everybody put on a longing face. He's worth the name of my senior, said Katua. My man is that marvelously unique. Feng Rao smiled proudly and charmingly. He's Shi Yan, all right, nodded Carthu. Fei Lan and Leona expressed that this was inevitable and right. While they were talking, the light on Shi Yan's 720 acupuncture points dimmed out. Eventually, all the light disappeared. Those glorious beams of light seemed to be retrieved into his god body. After a while, a surging wave of energy emitted from his god body. Tiny contaminants oozed out from his pores. Then a sour smell diffused. Those were dregs generated by the god body, one of the barriers of the warrior's cultivation. While the god body took an energy, contaminants and dregs would settle in the veins and pores. They would hinder the circulation of energy, which reduced the performance of a tenacious god body. When those dregs oozed out, it meant Sher Yan's god body had been quenched to another level. A flame ignited and those dregs and contaminants were burned down, leaving no trace. Sher Yan's god body was dark red, emitting radiant light. He looked like the perfect saber. Each of his muscles was lean and tight. They didn't look too big, but they astonishingly matched with each other. Everybody was surprised. Looking at his body, they could see the bursting energy within his muscles. That god body is so strong that its tenaciousness could compare to our giant tribe. He seems to have something magical, not Exan praised. His body contains blood chi that is much more than the giants at the same level, and his body is dozens of times smaller than ours. A giant at the original god realm looked at Sher Yan and then closed his eyes to sense. After a while he became dispirited. How could it be? He's just a human. He looks fragile and small. How could he have reached such intensity? He couldn't explain it, and neither could the others. Is it because of the origin? Karthu asked. Not Exan shook his head. No. The origin could help the soul alter only. It has no effect on the god body. His wonderful changes in his god body could be because of something we didn't know. They didn't know the reasons, and they were very suspicious. They thought that everything about Sher Yan was completely different from normal people. He was simply a freak. While the others were still dumbstruck, Sher Yan's brows twitched. He had been quiet for so many days. It seemed like he was about to wake up as he had finally finished his breakthrough. Seconds later, Sher Yan woke up, chuckling. Chapter 907, The Soul God. Chapter 907, The Soul God, Undersir. Opening his eyes, Sher Yan smiled, seeing his friends. His condition was now perfect. His god body was refined one more time. Each of 720 acupuncture points in his body had become a new world with territory several times bigger. His soul consciousness checked his body's condition. The massive vortexes were revolving unceasingly in the acupuncture points, according to the miraculous rules of nature. Crystal lines crossed the world inside the acupuncture points, like gorgeous rainbows in the void. They elongated to extremely far areas, creating some unknown, magical spirit chart. Although the god body was as rigid as the purest iron, once the energy circulated, it was extremely flexible. Sher Yan could do anything he pleased. The soul altar had 2 areas in the tier of Upanishad and heaven flames above the sea of consciousness. The 2 souls floated above that tier. One was his original soul, controlling the important functions of the entire body. It connected the vortex in his abdomen and the luxuriant god power ancient tree. The fountain of the enormous energy glowed radiantly. Near there was an immense nebula with countless stars. A massive diamond-like star was still moving in that nebula. His thought flickered. The newly generated god power flowed like a stream of stars, rolling in his vessels and creating the immense energy, fluctuation. Original god realm. He had finally crossed the threshold. After countless times of ascetical cultivation, he had finally reached this realm today. Although they were all at original god realm, he believed his real competence had far surpassed Katua and Xiao's, the 2 warriors who had just entered the original god realm too. If he had to risk his life against them, he was definitely sure that he could easily kill those who had just entered the first sky of original god realm like Katua and Xiao. And it was highly possible that he could defeat Ao Guduo, a second sky of original god realm, as well. A challenge of skipping level wasn't really a matter to him. Quite the contrary, it brought him more confident. Not Exan, the giants, Phelan, Leona, and Karthu were eyeing Sher Yan. They wanted to know how tremendous he had become. Fusing with the origin was something that only the luckiest man in legends could do. His luck was amazing. He had the god power even before his right time. Such a lucky champ, not Exaion appraised. He has the origin and fused it with his soul. Haha, this time we got to our ancestral land. Nobody could get a bigger harvest than yours. Carthu's group was envious. The raging flame star area didn't have any ancient continents. The description and explanation of the origin were just legends. They didn't know about its profundities. The legends of the origin were mysterious and unclear. Still, their unclear knowledge of the origin didn't mean that they knew nothing about its magical effects. My fate has always been good, Shiryen chuckled. The 10 heaven flames were born by a beam of the origin's purest energy. After they had been fused with the origin, which then perfectly combined with Shiryan's soul, the experience of each heaven flame had become a trace of a memory deeply carved in his mind, becoming part of his soul. The spherical soul was the origin, the heaven flames, and the real master of Grace mainland. The continent was divided into many pieces, projected in his sea of consciousness. When his thoughts flickered, no area on this continent could avoid his soul sensing. He was the sole god of this continent. Sure, Yen was like an audience member watching the birth of a continent, observing it thrive to the peak and then decline. He saw all the events that had happened in the billions of years. His familiarity with this continent was greater than any other existence. His soul was the inner core of the continent, which used to be the fountain of energy. Have you found what you wanted to see yet? Shiryen stopped smiling, glancing at Na Exan. We haven't located the target yet. Na Exan shook his head, forcing a smile. The ancestral land that year and what we see today are different. We need more time. Let me help you. Shiryen pondered for a while and then grinned. He touched the air. Space power Upanishad changed at his fingertip. A ring of light suddenly enlarged, creating a light passage. People could see a vague area through that light passage. The ancient continent is divided into several pieces. Due to the change of seas, many areas were relocated. I can find what you can't search as easily as flipping a hand. Shiryen said seriously, Go. At the end of that light passage is a piece of the barren continent. It used to be the cradle of your giant clan, and it is also the ancestral land you've mentioned. There's a strange area 1,000 meters underground. It should be the forbidden land that the giant clan protected. He was now the master of the ancient continent. After he had fused with the origin, he had all things of the continent projected in his mind. None of those areas could avoid his sensing. Sure, Yen would be the first one know any warrior regardless of his profound realm or power, once he descended on this continent. Many holy lands of the original areas of the 10 clans had sunk underground or were sealed with many barriers and restriction. It would be tough for other people to search and access the place. However, it was easy to him. His soul consciousness had sensed the birthplace of the giant clan underground. It was a large area of stone buildings and palaces. He could even see statues of the giant ancestors. It was the homeland that the giants had protected with their history and inheritance. Na Exayan's eyes brightened. Taking a deep breath, he smiled and nodded. Thank you. You helped us save a lot of time and efforts. I want to thank you for your heavy gift. If you didn't give me so many divine crystals to break through, I couldn't have gotten through it safely, said Shiryen honestly. With your innate endowment and competence, your future is immeasurable. Na Exayan appraised. Then he didn't say more. He just nodded to the giant clansmen standing next to him. Let's go. We're going to the ancestral land. The giants agreed grumblingly. Their faces thrilled as their giant bodies shook slightly. Members of the giant clan entered the space passage created by Shiryen as guided. They started to move to the most mysterious land of their clan. After the last giant disappeared into the passage, Shiryen arched his brows, asking Phelan, "Fusing with the origin is just accommodating the soul, right? Could it be two souls coexisting?" Phelan was baffled. She carefully remembered the legends. After a while, she spoke up. "Never heard of such a strange phenomenon." Shiryan's heart shivered. His face darkened, but he didn't say anything. He also knew it wasn't normal. Both Na Xian and Phelan's explained that once fusing with the origin, the soul would be merged perfectly with the origin. They would become one. But Shiryen had two souls. His souls seemed to be split, and they seemed completely different. Since Na Xian and Phelan were precursors with profound knowledge, if they didn't know it, Shiryen was afraid that the others couldn't. This planted a seed of anxiety in his heart. However, when he circulated his soul altar, he found nothing wrong with the two souls. They had even supported each other, and Shiryen didn't feel anything annoyed. Between the two souls, his original soul was in charge of everything as if it was the host soul. It controlled the god body and all powers, urging the powers Upanishad. The ball-shaped soul could urge and use the powers of the heaven flames. It was familiar with all abilities of the 10 heaven flames. His thoughts moved, and the icy, scorching auras could perform naturally and strongly. The fountain of these energies stayed deep in his soul. It didn't need the other energies in his body. The heaven flame tier in the soul altar had the auras of 10 heaven flames. Just like the powers Upanishad, they were interlinked with his soul. The abilities and energy of the heaven flames in the heaven flame tier could run into the sea of consciousness and expand to the entire body from there. He could activate them in any minute. Sure, Yen sensed carefully for a while. He found no conflict between the two souls. Although they were distinctive, they were actually matched without any gap. Currently, he found no abnormal signals or aftermath of the fusion. Although he was suspicious before he could find an answer, he didn't want to explain it to everybody. Thus, he decided not to say anything. "I think you will feel bored staying in this place." Smiling, he spoke to Phelan and the others. "Give me a little time. After the giants have done their stuff, we will get back immediately, returning to that level 7 life star." "Yeah, Earth and heaven energy in this place are almost exhausted." Phelan nodded. "After you fused with the origin, Earth and heaven energy in this area had been running out faster. In several years, there will be no beam of energy left. This place isn't suitable to cultivate or understand realms." Everybody nodded. Shiryen understood. He didn't say anything and just took a deep breath. Space energy fluctuated around him. He extended his arms, tearing the void. A new passage appeared by him, leading directly to the perpetual night forest in divine great land. He could vaguely see utmost 8 purgatory city at the end of the passage. In this archaic continent, his space power Upanishad wasn't limited. The abilities he couldn't use in other areas would be much easier here due to the origin. In the past, if he wanted to connect 2 areas in the Grace mainland, he must use the formation and some other materials. However, he directly carved the formation in the void using his soul consciousness with the energy supply from the magical energy fluctuation of the origin. He could simply and easily connect different areas. In the ancient continent, he was the master. With his understanding of space power, he could connect 2 poles of the continent as he pleased. However, this ability was only effective in the ancient continent. When he wasn't in this area, this ability wouldn't work. Moving like an electric rainbow, he entered the passage. After a flash, he appeared inside utmost purgatory city. Many warriors had realized the passage in the void. They lifted their faces to observe. Seeing him emerging, they were all startled. "Shiryen!" Yang Mu couldn't help but shout. The youth of the Yang family, including Yang Shui, Li Feng, and Yang Meng, were perplexed to see him. They were astounded discreetly. "Did Ji?" Shiryen smiled. talking right after he landed. "How is your preparation?" "Almost done," Yangmu answered and took a step forward to hug him. He didn't know why he suddenly felt uneasy. Sure, Yen was very different, while Yangmu had just the sky realm. Because of the big gap between their realms, he felt a little bit embarrassed. Chapter 908, Her News. Chapter 908, Her News on her. Sure, Yen smiled brightly, walking forward to hug him back. He laughed. "Deji, don't mind it too much. When we arrive in the new place, with your talent and realm, you will advance quickly. I know many pellets and magical inheritance. I'm sure you won't be disappointed. You didn't change. Haha, you didn't change even a bit. That's good." Yangmu was happy. "I was worried that you wouldn't want to accept such a useless Deji like me." "Why?" Sure, Yen spoke to him honestly. "When I was in trouble in the endless sea, you had crossed thousands of miles to rescue me. I will never forget your great kindness to me." "Good brother." Yangmu patted his shoulder. Then he cried in pain. "Hey, is your body made of iron?" Currently, Shi Yen was at the original God realm. The tenacious of his body wasn't something Yangmu could imagine. He patted Shi Yan's shoulder, but Shi Yan didn't feel anything. On the contrary, Yangmu felt like he had hit iron or steel. His hand felt numb, his mind blown away. Shaking his arm, Yangmu forced a smile, sighing unceasingly. He knew that the gap between him and Shi Yan was like the sky and the abyss. Yangmu was at Sky Realm. In Shi Yan's eyes, the eyes of an original God Realm expert, he wasn't different from a worm or an ant on the ground. Shi Yan just needed to raise his hand and he could kill many. "You're so awesome." Yang Meng was terrified. Shi Yan chuckled. "One day, you guys will have the same things. Moreover, I believe you don't need a long time to reach a profound realm. The Grace mainland isn't suitable for you guys. When we come to another better world, you will see many unbelievable things, but you can touch them all." The level 7 life star where Xian lived had a lot of spiritual herbs on the ground. With alchemist Jester's support, they could refine many kinds of magical pellets. Staying in the exhausted Grace mainland, they could reach such levels. That would be enough to prove their innate ability and competence. Once they had a richer arena, their breakthrough would occur faster and smoother. "Long time no see." Shi Yan looked at the two girls in the ground, smiling brightly. "Have you prepared to leave yet?" They were He Qing Man and Chu Yanqing. After many years, they still had the same beautiful makeup. Their bodies were charming and stunning, and their faces were like the blooming flowers. "Almost done," Chu Yanqing smiled. "It's good to see you again." "Have you ever met Xian Yanjie?" He Qing Man studied him, contemplating for a while, and then asking weakly. Shi Yan frowned. A gleam of sadness crossed his eyes. "No, I haven't heard from her for so many years." Shi Yan's heart was very soft for Xia Xian Yan. When he left Grace mainland that year, they had lost the connection. He knew that she was still alive, but he didn't know where she was. As He Qing Man said, so he suddenly realized that he should go to that hidden domain to check. Perhaps he could find something. In that year, his realm wasn't enough, and his knowledge of space power wasn't as profound as it is now. Also, he had many important things to shoulder. He didn't dare to risk his life searching her. However, he thought his chance had finally come today. Xian Yan went through many hardships for you, though. When she came to the endless sea with you, she had done as much as she could for you. He Qing Man lowered her head, sighing. "I know. After I'm done with matters here, I'm going to find her." "Don't worry," Shi Yan nodded, his face touched. "It's true. When he had nothing with him, he had Xia Xian Yan. They had befriended and went to the endless sea together. Through many adventures, this girl had borne a lot of things because of him." Yang Tian Emperor Long Zhu and Yun Hao came after they had seen the passage. They were all excited, satisfied, and full of wishes for the new life. I've opened the passage. When you're done, you can get in at any time. I've arranged the other side too. Nothing unexpected, explained Shi Yan with a smile. All right, we're almost done. Long Zhu nodded, his face cheerful. I want to help more people, Shi Yan explained reluctantly. I'll see you guys at the entrance. Then he left. Shortly after, his aura disappeared as if he had directly merged himself to earth and heaven. Shi Yan went to the gathering place of the demon clan. It was a misty gray area. He shouted, I bring you hope. Shi Yan appeared out of nowhere in the ancient corpse tomb, speaking to Corpse Mount and Corpse Sea, the masters of the corpse clan now. Follow me. We're going to leave this continent. It's no longer suitable for you guys. He found the remaining members of the Ghost Mark clan in the shady firmament old mound. He said the same thing. This place is no longer suitable for your cultivation. I've found you guys a new place. Deep under the endless sea, Shi Yan directly talked to the chiefs of the tribes of the Sea clan. He said the same thing. I bring you new hope. Among the 10 clans from the ancient times, Shi Yan had visited the Demon Clan, the Monster Clan, the Ghostmark Clan, the Dark Clan, the Corpse Clan, and the Sea Clan, all the clans except for the God Clan that had disappeared and the Dark Spirit Clan which got eradicated. He created a passage connecting to the cold wind island of the endless sea. He brought them new hope. Energy in the Grace mainland was about to empty out. If the warriors stayed here, their energy would be drained out gradually, leading to their deaths. After receiving the origin, his point of view changed completely. The clans he used to think that should be swept over were now parts of the continent in his eyes. The origin had given birth to them. As he had fused with the origin, it was his responsibility to find them a way to survive. Candy was dead. The Dark Spirit Clan was uprooted. Now, Corpse Mount and Corpse Sea ruled Corpse Clan. Shi Yan had lost his interest in taking revenge to the Ghostmark Clan since Zenith was also dead. The Monster Clan, the Dark Clan, and the Demon Clan didn't have any hotshots worth his intention. After he showed off his power, he had encountered no resistance. All clans understood the situation of the continent well. When he told them that he wanted to take them out of this place, no one opposed it. All thanked him for his favor. The 7 remaining clans included the Demon Clan, Monster Clan, Dark Clan, Ghostmark Clan, Corpse Clan, Sea Clan, and Human Clan. All of their members had received Shi Yan's favor of having a chance to leave this continent. Passages appeared above the Coldwind Island, connecting many places of the Grace mainland. Clansmen of different races followed their leaders, crossing through the passage to gather in this island. With existences at high levels like Fei Lon and Leona, all the clansmen were as nice as the sheep. They cooperated well and followed their management. Of course, members of the clans were scattered around the continent. It took a lot of time to gather them. After Shi Yan had created the passages for the clans, he left by himself to go to the Ice and Fire secret domain. He stood in front of that chaotic space, frowning and looking at bunches of light shooting disorderly. He urged the soul consciousness to check. His soul consciousness moved like a bunch of light piercing through the place, trying to use the mysterious ability of the immortal demon blood to find Xia Xian Yen. After a while, a beam of his soul consciousness was stopped by a thick space barrier. No matter how hard he had tried, he couldn't get through it. Frowning, he tried to release more energy to attack that barrier. However, he found that it was really tough. With his cultivation base of the original God realm, his current powers, and his perception of space power Upanishad, he still couldn't get through the barrier. It was obvious that this barrier was formed recently. It seemed like someone had sealed the place. This barrier looked like the closed border between the Raging Flame Star area and not Exion Star area. It seemed like only the Hollow Channel could connect them. With his cultivation base of the original God realm and his current powers, He couldn't create the hollow channel under the given circumstances since he knew nothing about the other star area. He didn't have that ability yet. However, he knew one thing. He knew that the area behind that barrier should be another star area, another world. It might be close to Grace mainland or pretty far away. If his immortal demon area couldn't seep through that barrier, it was possible that it was a star area far, far away. Vaguely, he felt Xian Yen was still alive. But he couldn't trace her location, her thoughts, and soul energy fluctuation. After several attempts, he reluctantly gave up and returned to the cold wind island, dispirited. Na, Xian, and the clansmen of the giant tribe had come back. They looked excited as if they got a big harvest. What happened? Seeing Shi Yen have a bad mood, Na Xian asked deliberately, "Is there anything you couldn't do in Grace mainland with your competence now?" "I wanted to find a person. Unfortunately, I got nothing," Shi Yen sighed. "My soul consciousness can't pierce through the barrier because it could lead to another star area. Sigh, I don't know when I will get a chance to see her again." "Where is it? Can you take me there to check?" Na Xian was curious. Shi Yen was surprised. He nodded as he spoke to him. "Follow me." Shortly afterward, Shi Yen and Na Xian appeared in the ice and fire secret domain. He led the giant to that chaotic space, pointing at the passage with many beams of shooting light. There. Na Xian observed for a while, releasing his soul consciousness to sense for something. After a long time, Na Xian's eyes brightened. He looked very shocked, speaking to Shi Yen. "That space barrier has the aura of the shadow, ghostly prison, which is dark and gloomy. It gives the soul shadows of ghosts as if we're in hell. I'm sure it's the shadow ghostly prison." Shi Yan's eyes were sharp as he hissed. "Shadow ghostly prison? Where is it?" "A mysterious area in our agate star area. I heard that it has a shattered hollow channel and a hollow flood current that is sealed. It used to be the space gate hub of the agate star area." Na Xian took a deep breath, speaking seriously. "If the one you are looking for has crossed the chaotic space current in this area, that one should be in our agate star area if nothing unexpected happened. Perhaps you know that not only our giants had pursued the God clan that year. Many other clans of Grace mainland have come and lived in the agate star area like us. Perhaps they have found the line connecting to the ancient continent in the shadow, ghostly prison of the agate star area." "Ah." Shi Yen was stunned. "Are you saying that the one I'm looking for is in the agate star area? The star area that we are about to go to?" "If nothing's wrong with my sensing abilities, it should be like that." Na Xian nodded to confirm his presumption. Shi Yen was completely shocked. Chapter 909, A Great Migration. Chapter 909, A Great Migration. When the last batch of the lowest realm warriors got through the ethereal extent and landed on the level 7 life star, the Great Migration of the Grace mainland's residents finally ended. Old Orchid Star was the name of this level 7 life star where dwelled the giant tribe. Shi Yen, Fei Lan, Leona, and the giant joined hands to cast complex barriers and formations by the lake near the foot of the mountain, which reduced the gravity by 200 times to help the newcomers adapt to the environment here. Old Orchid Star had a tremendous gravity, much more than the Grace mainland. Even true God realm warriors found it hard to get used to his place, panting while walking. If they didn't set up another destination which had adjusted gravity for the warriors lower than Sky Realm, the warriors wouldn't even be able to stand. They could only crouch on the ground and do nothing. Only warriors at the King God Realm could move freely in the old Orchid Star. However, even they couldn't fly. Warriors from the Grace mainland came from different races. There were dozens of thousands of them, and most of them had low realms, around Nascent Realm or Disaster Realm. After they arrived, they were taken to the new rest stop, which saved them from being crushed by the massive gravity. Life stars with such formidable gravity were really rare in the agate star area. It might be because of this reason that many strong clans couldn't stay in this life star, leaving the giant tribe live in peace until now. Shi Yan had a better knowledge of the agate, thanks to Na Xen. Na Xen said that the agate star area was immensely vast, with countless life stars at different levels. It had around 100 level 7 life stars and perhaps thousands or even dozens of thousands of level 6 life stars. Mineral stars, dead stars, solar stars, and lunar stars were like sand or gravel by the sea, scattered along the whole star area. This place didn't have only the races they knew about. Besides the Demon Clan, Dark Clan, Monster Clan, Dark Spirit Clan, Ghostmark Clan, Sea Clan, and Human Clan, there were more living in different corners of the star area. They could find the clans who had existed in the antiquity time of the Grace mainland in the agate star area, including the God Clan. However, this clan wasn't welcome in this star area. Many clans were hostile towards this clan. Perhaps it was the reason why the members of the God Clan in the agate star area were so little. Once they appeared, they could be hunted down immediately. Clearly, the agate star area wasn't a paradise for the God Clan, where the other big clans hated them a lot. This new star area had around 100 different races. Some were extremely intimidating, while the others were weak and fragile. Some had even gone extinct. The agate star area was a real big hodgepodge of races. There were Fire Clan, Ice Clan, Wood Clan, Crystal Clan, Wind Clan, etc. were all living in this star area. Many of them were so peculiar that they were beyond Shi Yan's perception of this world. Taking the Fire Clan as an example, this race lived only on the solar stars. All members of the Fire Clan cultivated the scorching power, and a flame was always burning on their body, making them magical and extraordinary. Most of the solar stars of the agate star area were controlled by the Fire Clan. This clan even had the power to block the flaming energy of the solar star, saving the energy for their clansmen's cultivation. The Ice Clan was totally opposite to them. They lived in the extremely cold areas. They were born and lived in the glaciers. The clansmen of this race had a unique body structure, and they only cultivated icy power. And then there was the Wood Clan. Rumors said that they were born from an ancient holy tree. They had a wooden body with real wood texture on it. Clansmen of the Wood Clan knew how to use wood power Upanishad from the day they were born, and they could use only the wood power. They were the indulged children of the woods, the master of the woods. They lived in the forest, with towering ancient trees as their homes. Another example was the Crystal Clan. Their god body was a crystal, as if they were cut and engraved by different colored crystals. They were infinitely magnificent, with brilliant, marvelous light. This star area had more amazing, yet bizarre clans, living in different areas. They all had their own life stars and territories. Almost 100 clans were scattered around this immensely vast star area, living on countless life stars and owning a large number of mineral stars, dead stars, solar stars, and lunar stars. Together with the other mysterious and perilous lands, they created this high-level life star called Agate Star Area. Na Xian's introduction had scared many warriors, including Fei Lan, Leona, and the warriors from the raging Flame Star area. They were surprised a lot because of the profundities of the Agate Star area. Before they came here, who could have ever imagined such a strange star area? How could it have almost 100 extraordinary races like that? You guys can live here. This old orchid star is our giant's territory at the moment. This star doesn't have many natural resources, but I think it's enough for you. Na Xian walked to the lake, looking at the warriors who came from his ancestral land while talking seriously. You can collect all the materials in the old orchid star, we won't mind it. The old orchid star has many regions we haven't explored and exploited yet. You guys can work on it later. Does the old orchid star have a divine crystal mine? Asked Katua. Starting from the king god realm, divine crystals became the main items they used to restore their energy. It was also the currency in the raging flame star area. The divine crystals could be absorbed and turned into different kinds of energy, suitable for warriors of different races. With this characteristic, the divine crystal was popular in any star area because it was the main assurance for the warrior's cultivation. No, it doesn't, Na-Exan shook his head, explaining. At least, we haven't found one. Pausing for a while, Na-Exan added, the old orchid star is a little bit strange. The gravity will become more dangerous deep underground. Experts of our giant tribe can't endure it more than 1,000 meters underground. However, our precursor used to say that there should be something special under the ground of the old orchid star, especially with the fact that there are more spiritual herbs there. If you're interested in it, you can try. Na-Exan smiled, but his eyes didn't. Katua was surprised, rubbing his nose and talking awkwardly. Never mind, never mind. If you guys don't dare to explore, it will be impossible for us. Na-Exan was at the ethereal god realm, and his realm was higher than Phalon. Perhaps he was at the second of the ethereal god realm. If this existence didn't dare to explore the underground, who could? Phalon, Leona, or Shuryen? Ka-Tua forced a smile. Your realms were low, and your knowledge of Power Upanishad is shallow. I think it will not be easy for you to live on the surface of the old orchid star. You shouldn't take any risks. Na-Exan kindly reminded them. Everybody was reluctant as they nodded, knowing that he just told the truth. I think you need to build a city first. Na-Exan pointed at an area. There are a lot of good rocks over there. They should be suitable for your city. Yeah, if you need help, I can send 2 giants to transport the rock for you. It's to pay tribute to Shuryen for his help in finding our ancestral land. Thank you, precursor. Shuryen slightly bent over while smiling. Then we will do it. The gravity in the old orchid star was scary. In this place, even the ordinary fantasy sky rings were affected. They couldn't contain heavy objects anymore. The giants were tall and were used to the gravity in this area. There was nothing more suitable than them to transport the heavy rocks. I will arrange it. You just need to assign someone to go with us and show what kind of rocks you want. Na-Exan was generous, frankly calling his clansmen. Shortly, 2 brawny men of the giant clan ran towards them from the big mountain. You guys stay here and help our friends to transport some rocks. Just follow them. Na-Exan advised his fellows, then smiled. Our guests here come from pretty far. They will stay with us in the old orchid star near our mountain. They will be our friends, our neighbors. We will get along well with them. We got it, tribal oldie. The 2 giants looked nice and friendly. They were all at the original god realm. They had agreed with their elder without a bit of hesitation. You guys will be busy for a while, so I won't disturb you anymore. Na-Exan smiled and nodded to Shuryen, then excused himself, walking back to his big mountain. Who will go with us? A muscular giant shouted. His voice was like the thunderclaps striking people's eardrums. Many lower realm warriors tumbled, falling because of his loud voice. They were all perplexed. The 2 giants were at the original god realm. While they were talking, their bodies emitted an intimidating aura. Disaster realm warriors in Shuryen's side couldn't endure such pressure. Are there any blacksmiths? Who knows about the special stone materials? Step forward. Shuryen turned around and shouted. Although I'm an alchemist, I know stone materials. Count me. Jester smiled until his eyes narrowed. He took part in the responsibility on his own initiative. Anybody else? Shuryen asked again. There were blacksmiths among the warriors came from the Grace mainland. However, since their realms were low, they were inferior to Jester, a high-level existence. They didn't have the guts to show themselves. Aren't you a blacksmith? Ziyao was surprised. Yes, I am, but I'm not familiar with rock materials. Shuryen smiled. His eyes narrowed as he looked at the clansmen from the Grace mainland. Don't worry about realms. You guys will show which rock materials are suitable to build the city. Whoever works in this field, step out some." With his encouragement, an old human at the Nirvana realm gritted his teeth, walking out of the crowd with his face worried. "Sir, I'm a blacksmith. Although my realm isn't high, I've got an ancient book with great information of rock and stone materials." "All right, you're in. Anybody else?" Shi Yan nodded. Hesitating for a while, he added, "I will give magical pellets as a reward to you." Many people looked touched. They seemed excited, but none of them volunteered. It looked like they weren't confident at all. Shi Yan waited for a while, but he got no one else. He sighed begrudgingly, talking to the giants. "Only 3 of us. Let's go." "Come, climb on our shoulders." The 2 muscular giants squatted down to let Shi Yan, Jester, and that old man get on their shoulders. Then they strode and ran, making the earth rumble. Chapter 9:10 1,000 Miles Underground. Chapter 9:10 1,000 Miles Underground, ___. The 2 brawny giants strode, fast as if they were flying. Small trees rattled along their way, sending leaves everywhere. Shi Yan's group sat on the shoulder of the giants. Looking at the trees collapse like grass under their feet, they somehow felt magical. The old man was called Li Shao. He was only at the Nirvana realm. Under the extreme gravity and the bumpy journey, he paled, his eyes so worried. After a while, when the giant stopped, the old man couldn't hold it anymore and began vomiting. Swoosh! Shi Yan lifted Li Shao and landed in the middle of a crushed stone area. Li Shao bent his body and threw up, his face ashen. Although he was at the Nirvana realm, he hadn't adapted to the gravity of the old orchid star yet. He staggered, his legs shaking as if he were carrying a whole mountain on his back. This was a mine around several hundred mu of land, with many collapsed mountains and chips of rock. One of the muscular giants spoke, his voice sounding like a thunderclap. "This is our quarry we use to build houses. You guys can choose whatever you want." Li Shao was shaken as he spurted out blood under such pressure. He looked so unwell. Shi Yan forced a smile, shaking his head. He raised his hand, releasing a brilliant starlight that covered Li Shao entirely. Li Shao was shrouded in the starlight, which separated him from the extreme gravity and the thundering voice. He finally got some color back on his face. Jester frowned, throwing him a pellet. "Swallow it." Li Shao was baffled, looking at Shi Yan. "Eat it. He won't harm you." Shi Yan nodded and smiled. Only then did Li Shao take the pellet. Immediately, a flow of medicinal efficacy, which he considered immense, diffused in his body. The damage done to his body was healed rapidly as his face started glowing with health. Shortly after, he became full of spirit. Li Shao checked his condition for a while. He was thrilled, kneeling and bowing to Jester, continually thanking him. To Jester, the lowest level pellet he refined was at least a level 6 or 7 sacred grade. As Li Shao was only at the Nirvana realm, that pellet was a priceless treasure to his cultivation. He could feel his energy leap up several times with only a pellet Jester had just given him. The contaminants and dregs on his body were also filtered. With the power of this pellet, it was possible to break through 1 level. Of course, he was thrilled. Sure, Yen didn't mind the old man, smiling at a giant. "What kind of stone material do you use? How to know it's suitable for your houses?" "Simple." A muscular giant grinned, talking. "We hit it. The one that can resist to the last minute under the powerful pressure is the toughest one and the most suitable material." "Oh, really simple," Shi Yan smiled frankly. However, inwardly, he didn't dare to agree with the giant. Shi Yan could consider himself an average blacksmith. He had a good knowledge of blacksmithing anyway. The giant's method to choose the material to people who didn't know how to refine items was effective indeed. However, different kinds of materials could be fused or blended with each other. In many cases, Weak stone materials could become tougher and better quality material after being refined, even dozens of times more rigid. As they knew the refining methods, the crude method of the giants was simple indeed. Alchemist Jester frowned, seeming to be a little bit disdainful. If it were that simple, there would be no alchemist or blacksmith in this world. If it were so, would the weapon made of the toughest material be the most dangerous one? It's not that simple. The giant wasn't enraged. He just laughed foolishly. Our tribe doesn't know these things. Also, we don't pay much attention to it. We've done things that way for years. Yeah, we knew that the blacksmiths could refine and forge materials into powerful weapons. But my tribe doesn't have a blacksmith. Listening to him, Jester and Shi Yin couldn't comment anything else. You guys watch around. When you see the stone you like, call us. One of the two giants told them, then sat down leisurely by a pile of stone. He dozed off, his face satisfied. Shi Yin smiled and said nothing more. He turned to Jester and Li Shao. We should scatter and find the materials. The stone material is the foundation we will build our city with. It'll guarantee our future home and homeland. I hope you guys would choose wisely. I will do my best. Li Shao took a deep breath, his face stern. He walked towards the area filled with crushed stones. Jester also looked serious, while his eyes sparkled continually. He took out a yellowed old book, carefully checking for something. It seemed that he didn't actually know about types and structures of stone materials. Since he had a good source to refer, he got his confidence. Although Li Shao had a low realm, and he wasn't worth mentioning in Shi Yin and Jester's eyes, he had special knowledge of stone materials. Unlike Jester, who was using a book, he was knocking and sometimes pounding on the stone, releasing a wisp of energy to sense. Sometimes he frowned, and at times he smiled. The style of a master. Shi Yin observed Li Shao for a while and gradually eased his mind, thinking that this man could perhaps give him happy surprises. Sure, Yin didn't know much about materials to build a city. He was good at choosing materials for forging treasures or weapons. The blacksmith's secrets of success mainly mentioned those materials. That was why he brought Li Shao and Jester here to help him choose. Although the Agate Star area was vast and the old Orchid Star was the exclusive land of the giant tribe, it wasn't safe. Otherwise, the giant tribe wouldn't need to set up layers of barriers outside the mountain. This meant that old Orchid Star used to be invaded. Someone had targeted the giant tribe. This immense star area had almost 100 clans, with countless intimidating existences scattering everywhere. Shi Yin's fellows were just some low-realm outsiders, their competence limited. If they could have a tough city, it would be a good advantage to their future development. With this thought, he was earnest about choosing the materials for the city. He neither watched Jester and Li Shao nor talked to the two giants, just frowned while walking in the quarry and releasing his soul consciousness to sense something. Since his soul consciousness had space power, although his realm wasn't high, the coverage of his soul consciousness was larger and deeper than the other warriors with higher realms. Space power Upanishad had such ability. Flows of his soul consciousness shot out like shuttles. Shi Yin had now more eyes, observing the entire area around him. Ah! After a long time, he sighed, his eyebrows twitching. He silently flew to the center of the quarry. With his power at the original God realm, he couldn't travel 1,000 miles in just a blink under the tremendous gravity of the old Orchid Star. He was slowed down a lot. He got to his target after 15 minutes. Standing in the center of the 3 collapsed mines was a massive chasm, so deep that people couldn't see its bottom. It seemed to run to the deepest place underground. A beam of his soul consciousness moved to that pitch black hole. However, when his soul consciousness reached to an extremely deep place, he felt a wisp of an extraordinary energy. It seemed to be some kind of crystal. It was like crystal rock or some special iron. It felt so wonderful. The old orchid star was awed with its tremendous gravity indeed, but the gravity at the star surface wasn't the heaviest on this star. The deeper one went underground, the heavier the gravity got. Even the experts of the giant tribe didn't dare to linger, or else they would get their god body crushed. However, there would be something magical in the earth of the old orchid star, as it could produce more excellent spiritual herbs. If the warriors could resist the terrifying gravity, they could have a chance to search. Sure, Yen suddenly recalled what Na Exen had told him, and his eyes brightened silently. Taking a deep breath, he released more beams of soul consciousness. He then condensed the wisps of his soul consciousness into one big beam, which was purer and sharper. Of course, it could pierce the layers of soil faster. A flow of combined soul consciousness slowly intruded the gloomy, massive pit like an arrow. Shortly, the magical feeling became more intense. Boom! His sea of consciousness was shaken, as beams of soul consciousness in his sea of consciousness also trembled. This wonderful feeling multiplied by 100 times. It was like there were tens of thousands pieces of the same material, as many as the stars in the sky, inlaid in the bottom of the pit. It was some special matter that could resonate with the sea of consciousness, making his soul consciousness dart fast like an electric arrow. A flow of soul consciousness was constantly surging in response, which seethed his sea of consciousness and shook the soul altar. Shi Yen was frightened. He hastened to retrieve his soul consciousness, his face turning strange. Pondering for a while, Shi Yen found that his beam of soul consciousness had pierced more than 1,000 meters into the ground. Even Na Exen couldn't reach this depth for sure. Since Na Exen didn't have the space power, and although his soul consciousness could cover a large area, his elongated soul consciousness was limited. It couldn't get deep into the earth like Shi Yan's. Contemplating for a while, he decided to find someone to ask. He wanted to tell about the magical changes of his soul consciousness, so that the others could guess about the situation. He came to where the two giants were resting. Hesitating for a while, he asked frankly, "I've just found a dark hole leading to a deep place underground. A beam of my soul consciousness felt something wonderful down there." He explained to them how his sea of consciousness reacted to that energy fluctuation of some matter underground. The two giants listened to him. When he told them how his sea of consciousness surged, they jolted up. Light shot out marvelously from their eyes up into the sky. Shi Yen was shaken as he lowered his voice, asking, "Is there something strange?" The other two seemed to not being able to hear him. They were so excited that their bodies shaking. Two muscular giants exchanged looks. They didn't hesitate, running towards the grand mountain of their tribe while thundering, "Tribal oldie! Tribal oldie! Our old orchid star does have that thing. The rumor's real." Shi Yen was perplexed. Chapter 911 Thousandfold Lotus. Chapter 911 Thousandfold Lotus. _. Sure, Yin didn't know why the two giants were so excited, as if they were about to go crazy. However, he could confirm one thing. The thing that could resonate with his sea of consciousness must be extremely marvelous. Jester and Li Xiao also heard the giants' earth-shaking call. They were astounded for a while, then got back to their work of sensing the stone materials. They didn't pay much attention to them. Shi Yen hesitated for a while, then returned to that gloomy, passive pit, waiting in silence. After 2 hours, he was dumbstruck. Clansmen of the giants emerged from the mountain, led by their tribal oldie, Na Exan. He took a dozen brawny giants, running at their max speed toward Shi Yen. They looked so happy that they couldn't hide it. Shortly, the giants arrived, looking at him with complicated eyes. Na Exan's voice trembled as if he wanted to confirm something, but he was afraid it would only disappoint him. "Little Yen, did you Did you find something underground within 1,000 li that could resonate with your sea of consciousness? Are you sure? I'm sure, Shiryen nodded, asking curiously, but what is that? Ha ha ha. Turns out it's real. The rumor's true. Rich. We're going to be rich. So good. With that thing, we can exchange for many goods. It's a big surprise, it is. Shiryen's our lucky charm. He took us to ancestral land, and we found the ancient inheritance there. Now he found that thing. He's the lucky charm of our giant tribe. A real lucky charm. True. He's our best friend. Best friend forever. Soldiers of the giant tribe looked at him, expressing their most sincere affection. Na Exan was trembling in thrill. He was filled with excitement, laughing unceasingly. What is it? Asked Shiryen again after waiting for them to finish their happy time. Thousand-fold lotus. Na Exan said resolutely. It must be the thousand-fold lotus. If it can resonate with the sea of consciousness, no doubt it's the thousand-fold lotus. Ouch! Please elaborate, Shiryen forced a smile. Taking a deep breath, Na Exan said, there's a rumor about the old orchid star, which says that the star has the thousand-fold lotus. They say that some experts had found it in the original God realm. However, we, the giant tribe, had never seen it before. Many people have come here to find. Anyway, they got nothing. Gradually, people stopped keeping an eye on this star anymore. Pausing for a while, Na Exan laughed. If they knew the thousand-fold lotus is actually in the old orchid star, they would regret to death. They would regret that they had eyes but couldn't see. They came to the right place, but they didn't take the precious treasure. Ha! It must belong to our giant tribe, our fortune that no one can take away. Shiryen still knew nothing, looking at him begrudgingly. After all, what's it? What's it good for? You've cultivated space power. Your soul consciousness has space power, which is why you could send your soul consciousness more than 1,000 li underground. I should have thought about this. Na Exan didn't explain, talking to his fellows. Even the peak of ethereal God realm experts can't send their soul consciousness 1,000 li underground. It's because the gravity in that area is thousandfold stronger than on the surface of the star. Ethereal God realm experts can't do that, let alone entering the area. No wonder why they couldn't locate it. Of course, they had searched for it on the surface. It's impossible to find the thousand-fold lotus. It's deeply subterranean, said a giant with his good mood. Na Exan put on a serious countenance, explaining Shiryen. The thousand-fold lotus is a material of the original incipient grade. It can be used to refine pellets and weapons at the original incipient grade. It's the rarest item among the strange and precious items that could give a tonic to the soul altar. It's the top precious treasure indeed. Original incipient grade. Shiryen was surprised. You don't know about it? Na Exan was skeptical. Sure, Yin shook his head. Spiritual pellets, medicines, cultivating materials, treasures, alchemists, and blacksmiths are categorized into grades. Each grade has 7 levels. They are mortal grade, mystery grade, spirit grade, sacred grade, divine grade, and original incipient grade, where the original incipient grade is the top one. You didn't know this? Na Exan was surprised. Shiryen beamed a forced smile. I've told you my knowledge is shallow. The ancestral homeland has existed for millions of years, using up energy. It's a really long time since we had a last king god realm warrior. Of course, I don't know much. As it turned out, there was the original incipient grade above divine grade. It was indeed true that the higher level star area had higher level existences. Original incipient grade pellets, treasures, and materials in the agate star area are also extreme. They are all the most marvelous treasures. The thousand-fold lotus is an original incipient grade material. We can use it to refine soul class treasure or original incipient grade pellets that could boost the soul altar. Na Exayan took a deep breath. The thousand-fold lotus has its sets of petal piling up on each other. It looks like a wave expanding outward continually. They connect to each other too. After the flower has 1,000 sets of corollas, it's considered mature, becoming the thousand-fold lotus. The thousand-fold lotus can enlarge the sea of consciousness, refining the soul consciousness to the point that it can become a real, sharp object, like a sword. Shi Yan was moved and couldn't help but exclaim, "Awesome!" In any inhabited area of a star area, materials or items that could nurture the soul would always be the top-selling items. If the thousand-fold lotus could expand the sea of consciousness and make the soul consciousness as refined as a real matter, it would absolutely be the top treasure. The thousand-fold lotus and the sea of consciousness have something in common. No one knows how it's formed to have layers of folds like that. It's marvelous and precious indeed. Na Exayan took a deep breath while smiling. The thousand-fold lotus is the rarest thing in the agate star area. Yeah, it's like this. A thousand-fold lotus can be compared to the value of a whole life star, at least a level 6 one. Of course, in many cases, even a level 6 life star couldn't be exchanged for a thousand-fold lotus. Shi Yan was thrilled. From Na Exayan and the giant's excitement, Shi Yan could guess that the thousand-fold lotus was really precious. However, he had still mistaken its value. A thousand-fold lotus could be exchanged for at least a level 6 life star? What kind of logic was that? It was unimaginable. Can you certify how many lotuses are there? Na Exayan asked seriously. 1 or 2 flowers, you think? Oh, I forgot to tell you that the thousand-fold lotus is huge. With 1,000 sets of corolla, it is at least 1 mu large. Can you return there and check out their number? Many giants were looking at him with hope in their eyes. Shi Yan nodded. Okay, I'll try. He condensed his soul consciousness, entering the deep place underground. He quieted down his mind to sense. After a while, his sea of consciousness resonated. He didn't hasten to retrieve the soul consciousness, continuing to explore. As Na Exayan had told him, he identified the area and dimensions to certify the number of the lotus. The giants looked hopeful and excitedly. Their eyes were glued on him without blinking, while they were smiling like the blooming flowers. Na Exayan was stirred up. He had to take several deep breaths to calm down his seething mind. The thousand-fold lotus was critical. Each flower was a real fortune. To the giants who lived humbly and poorly, it was so important that nothing could compare with it. Anyway, it was not just the earth and heaven energy they depended on to cultivate. They had to use more materials, treasures, and pellets. The giants were poor in those terms. Besides the old orchid star, they didn't have much to exchange for the goods. Compared to other clans, they were inferior. If they had the thousand-fold lotus, everything would be much easier. They could solve the troubles they had had for so many years. After a while, Shi Yan retrieved his soul consciousness, looking at Na Exayan. I feel like there are at least 20,000-fold lotuses. The giant clansmen cheered loudly, hugging and bumping each other's shoulder. They had shaken the mountainous area, sending rocks everywhere. Na Exayan faced the sky and laughed crazily. However, his eyes were watery. God still favors us. Our time has finally come. Our soldiers can have better conditions for their cultivation. Ha ha ha. More than 10 giants were laughing and cheering, their voices shaking the sky. They were so happy they almost cried. Who can take them? Shi Yan was surprised. After being baffled for a while, he asked. All members of the giant tribe were dumbstruck, darkening their faces. Na Exayan was embarrassed, pulling himself together from his crazy happiness. He scratched his head, giving a forced smile. It's trouble. The gravity at the elevation of 1,000 li underground is also 1,000 times stronger. I don't dare to get underground that deep. Then what should we do? The treasure is down there, but we can't take it out. Isn't it different from getting nothing? Damn it! God, are you kidding us? The heavenly treasures are down there, but you guard it with a natural gravity shield. How can we get in there? Damn! Many clansmen were pounding their chest, stomping their feet as they were so enraged. If you can't get it, why don't you hire someone else to do it? Asked Sher Yen. The giant clansmen quieted down, their countenance strange. No, not Exan forced a smile. Our giants are straightforward, but we aren't fools. If we can get the 1,000-fold lotuses, we won't sell them out under our name. We will do it through many brokers. If someone could spot that we have the 1,000-fold lotus in our land, we would have a lot of troubles. I'm afraid we won't be able to keep the old orchid star. We giants aren't really strong. We can't protect the old orchid star from invasion all the time. Listening to him, Sher Yen sighed inwardly. What kind of existence could get 1,000 li underground? The legendary incipient god realm warriors. Exan suddenly felt displeased. We can count the incipient god realm experts in the agate star area with our fingers. They are hiding like ghosts in the mysterious lands and don't go out often. Maybe they would go out after several hundred years. It's easy to hire those people to take the 1,000-fold lotus. However, if they want to rob us, I'm afraid. Sure, Yen became dumbstruck on listening to him. This old orchid star was marvelous. In this life star, only the incipient god realm warriors could get underground. So the 1,000-fold lotuses were subterranean, but they had no option? They were sitting on the treasures, but they couldn't take them. The giant clansmen frowned, stooping in distress. They felt so annoyed. Chapter 9:12 Myriad Weighty Stone. Chapter 9:12 Myriad Weighty Stone. Sir. Li Zhao's voice came from afar, sounding excited. The giants and Sher Yen were all depressed because they couldn't dig up the 1,000-fold lotus. Hearing Li Zhao's voice, Sher Yen frowned while contemplating. He decided not to overthink about the 1,000-fold lotus at the moment, walking towards Li Zhao. Exan and the giant soldiers surrounded the massive pit with a worried frown. They didn't mind Li Zhao much because they were busy figuring out how to obtain the 1,000-fold lotus. Crossing several li, Sher Yen walked to Li Zhao while frowning. What's happened? I found something. Li Zhao was cheered up, pointing at a dark stone by his feet. Myriad Weighty Stone. It's the Myriad Weighty Stone. That stone was ink black, around fist-sized. It wasn't eye-catching, mingling with the other stones in the pile. It didn't look odd or have any beam of energy. Sher Yen was surprised. Is that stone suitable for building the city? Sir, if you don't mind, please pick it up, Li Zhao smiled. As Sher Yen was skeptical, he reached and grabbed the Myriad Weighty Stone, releasing his energy while trying to pull it up. Sure, Yen changed his visage. At his realm, when he released energy, it was enough to pick up a small-sized mountain. However, that fist-sized stone didn't move even an inch. Sher Yan's interest arose. He walked to the stone and didn't draw it into the void using energy anymore. He extended his hand, touching that Myriad Weighty Stone. It felt firm and cold in his hand, but there was nothing else special about it. However, when he tried to lift up the rock, his face changed. Heavy. Too heavy. It was just a small rock, but it was as heavy as a small mountain. Sher Yen had to use his essence, Qi, to lift it up. His arm shook as he hardly endured it. Sher Yan's eyes brightened up. That stone's too heavy. Li Zhao nodded continually, looking strangely happy. The Myriad Weighty Stone is extremely heavy. In a normal situation, it's thousands of times heavier than the rock of the same volume. This fist-sized Myriad Weighty Stone can compare to a small mountain. Sher Yen was shocked. It's strange indeed. Can we use it to build the city? The best material to build the city. It's tough enough to resist almost all kinds of attacks. It's immune to weapons, strong impacts, fire, or water. It's the top stone material to build a city. Li Xiao stressed on the stone's features. All right. Shi Yan was excited. Where did you find this myriad weighty stone? How much of it can we collect? The smile on Li Xiao's face faded. I found only that stone. I've checked around, but I couldn't find more. I don't know where it's from. Shi Yan was surprised, pondering for a while, then said, There should be more around. We'll scatter and search then. Okay, Li Xiao was really excited. He immediately moved towards another stone pile, trying to find more myriad weighty stone. The two of them then focused on searching for more stones. They forgot the time, just raking through the stone quarry and checking each pile of stones. After waiting for Shi Yan for a long time, but not seeing him come back, the giant clansman became curious. Na Xan contemplated, then took his fellows to search. Afterward, Jester also came to their area. Seeing Shi Yan and Li Xiao burying their heads into piles of stones, he couldn't help but ask skeptically, What are you looking for? Shi Yan turned to him. He had many crushed stones sticking on his face. He threw the stone in his hand to Jester. This, alchemist Jester, have a look and tell me if you're familiar with this kind of stone. Jester extended his hand to catch it. At the moment the myriad weighty stone fell into his hand, his body was blown backward. Half of his body was pressed into the ground, and he almost got his wrists strained. He was scared, screaming continually, Oh, mother ****. What the heck is this stone? How could it be so heavy? Oh, damn. It's called myriad weighty stone. Alchemist Jester, you don't know about it? Shi Yan was surprised. Jester still had half of his body underground, forcing a smile while shaking his head. Never heard of it before. Shi Yan was bewildered and couldn't help but look at Li Xiao. Now he knew that perhaps alchemist Jester wasn't better than Li Xiao in terms of knowledge of stone materials. Although Li Xiao didn't have a high realm, his knowledge of stone materials wasn't shallow. We're trying to find that kind of stone. If we can find enough, it will be the main material to build our city. Alchemist Jester, please come and help us. Shi Yan smiled inaudibly. Jester was surprised, then nodded and smiled. That's good. I'm on it. Not long afterward, Na Xan took some brawny giants coming from afar. Seeing the strange operation of the other threes, he got suspicious. Little Yan, what are you doing? Finding a stone material which is very weighty. Shi Yan pointed at Jester's. That black stone on the ground is what we want to find. Have you ever seen it before? Jester had put that myriad weighty stone on the ground. Na Xan jumped over there, touching the stone. He picked it up easily while hissing, My, it's heavy. Yeah, pretty heavy. We need this kind of stone to build the city. As you live in the old Orchid Star precursor, do you know any place has this kind of stone? Shi Yan smiled and asked. Na Xan was a little bit embarrassed. I don't pay much attention to these things. He turned around, hurling the myriad weighty stone to the giants coming with him. Have a look at it. Do you know where to find this kind of stone? The giant clansmen looked at the myriad weighty stone, shaking their heads while responding in negative. After a while, some other giants came. One of them was an ugly giant. As soon as he arrived, he screamed, Tribal oldie, I know where to find this kind of stone. People had their eyes brightened. Take us there, ordered Na Xen. That giant didn't say anything, striding in a direction. People followed him immediately. After 2 hours, the giant led them to a 1,000 meters high bleak and barren mountain. However, when they approached the mountain, they found that the gravity in this area was even several hundred times stronger. Jester was hovering. However, when they arrived at this area, he fell onto the ground immediately, rushing into the pile of crushed stone in a sorry state. Sure, Yan staggered for a while before he could steady his god body in the air. He didn't fall like Jester. This mountain has the same kind of material. When I hunted near here, I used to see it, said the giant honestly. Shi Yan was moved. He didn't talk more, hauling the divine sword out at ND, slashing the mountain. The surface rock of the mountain wasn't myriad weighty stone. It was just a typical one. When his divine sword slashed down, blocks of rock fell like tofu cubes. Clink, clink. Digging dozens of meters deep into the mountain, the clinking noises of metal on metal echoed. The massive sword that was still working effortlessly met an obstacle for the first time. Shi Yan stepped forward while glancing, and couldn't help but smile. Indeed, inside the mountain is this very kind of material, the myriad weighty stone. People could see a dark area inside the cave Shi Yan had just dug up. The black stone had a deep scratch, which was left by the divine sword. The sharp divine sword that had cut the stone steels in the god-perishing land as easy as cutting tofu couldn't break the myriad weighty stone. Thus, it had proven how tough the myriad weighty stone was. Rattle, rattle, rattle. Shi Yan swung the sword, breaking the typical rock by the cave to enlarge it. After a long moment, the entrance of the cave was now dozens of meters large, enough for two giants to enter and check the special things inside. It's the same stone material inside. Li Shao stood in the distance, pondering for a while. He didn't dare to step forward, as he just muttered. Shi Yan nodded. It's true. The inside of this mountain is the myriad weighty stone. It should be enough for us to build the city. Too heavy. I'm afraid we can't move them out. Li Shao forced a smile. The amount of myriad weighty stone in this mountain is even heavier than a medium-sized life star. Perhaps even the giant precursors can't move it. Not Xian nodded, talking seriously. Based on the weight of that fist-sized stone, and with the entire inside of this mountain being made of it, we really can't move it. It is going to be too heavy. We don't have a solution. Shi Yan couldn't help but smile miserably. The 1,000-fold lotus was deep underground, so they couldn't touch it, and now they found a special material to build the city that they couldn't move. He suddenly felt that God was playing with him. He could see them, but couldn't touch. This was much harder to endure than not knowing anything. I'll try to use space power to move it. Contemplating for a while, Shi Yan took a deep breath, making up his mind. He didn't want to leave empty-handed. Holding his breath and concentrating his mind, Shi Yan condensed beams of soul consciousness, seeping into the mountain made of myriad weighty stone. His soul consciousness found it difficult to move further. The myriad weighty stone was unique. His soul consciousness could pierce through the normal stone, but it felt like countless of ropes were tying it down when he attempted to pierce through the stone. He had to use a lot of soul energy. He didn't give it up, gritting his teeth to get through the stone. After a while, his brain was shaken, his face showing an expression like he had found something wonderful. His soul consciousness found something inside the myriad weighty stone mountain. It had thousands or even tens of thousands of thick lines. Those thumb-sized lines glowed brilliantly, spreading in the center of the mountain like a big spider web. Shi Yan could see them in every corner. Those glowing lines looked like a mysterious spiritual formation. However, that formation was shattered. Many thumb-sized lines were broken, which had stopped the energy circulation of that formation, making it incomplete. Retrieving his soul consciousness, Shi Yan's face was stern. He took a deep breath and then talked. There's a formation inside the mountain, but it's damaged. The giant clansmen were shocked, unable to believe what he had just told them. They'd been living in the old Orchid Star for so many years, but they had never found this magical area. No one had ever thought that their homeland could have something so wonderful. This information had them baffled. I can fix it, Shi Yan pondered for a while before speaking up again, causing everyone to have their eyes brightened. Chapter 9:13. Fix the Ancient Formation. Chapter 9:13. Fix the Ancient Formation. _ The giant tribe had a lot of astonishments today. First, it was the thousand-fold lotus, then the myriad weighty stone, and now they found the mysterious ancient formation. Was it true that the old orchid star used to have some great, marvelous things? The giant tribe had lived in the old orchid star for tens of thousands of years. After that almost perpetual time, due to their limitation, they had explored the surface of the star several times, but still had never spotted anything magical before. Since Shi Yin cultivated space power and due its powerful piercing ability, plus his determination to reside in the old orchid star, he didn't save his energy trying to search further. And with that he indeed found many magical areas. This cheered up the giant tribe. To any person, knowing that his hometown had a treasure was a joyful thing. Of course, the giants weren't an exception. It was especially true because of the fact that the giant tribe was poor. They didn't have many precious materials. They always lived a humble, lean life. All of a sudden, discovering that they were actually sitting on a fortune had them totally thrilled. You can fix it? Really? People could even see how happy Na Xen was. It was all over his face as he excitedly walked forward, using one finger to pat Shi Yin on his shoulder. Good job. I know little Yen will be the lucky charm of our tribe. You didn't fail me. Shao Man has brought you to our tribe. He's a good kid too. Haha. Many giants were so happy they couldn't hold it, their countenance bright and cheerful. I can use God power to connect the broken formation. Let me give it a try, Shi Yin sensed carefully, then said, I need more time. Haha, you can do it again and again. We have plenty of time. Time is the one thing we have in abundance. Na Xen was blooming with smiles. Jester and Li Shao were also excited discreetly. They could confirm one thing. The old orchid star must have something marvelous. Otherwise, it wouldn't have had a mysterious, damaged formation inside this mountain. The formation meant that some living beings used to live or stay in the old orchid star a long time ago. The more ancient they were, the more profound would their realms, cultivation base, powers, and knowledge of this world be. If they could find something marvelous the ancient living beings left, it would be good news for the residents of the old orchid star. If the members of the different clans from the Raging Flame Star area and the Grace mainland could have the support from the top treasure, they could stand firmly faster in the Agate Star area. Their lives would be much better. It was indeed an amazing opportunity. Closing his eyes and placing one hand on the ground while aiming at the pitch-black myriad weighty stone, Shi Yin continually condensed his soul consciousness, seeping underground towards the massive chunk inside the mountain. He had cultivated space power, so his soul consciousness also had space power, which made it the most amazing type of soul consciousness. That was why he could sense the areas the giants couldn't. Realms didn't matter here. It was all due to the different power Upanishad. Warriors cultivating space power were mysterious and rare in any star area after all. Condensing soul consciousness and sending it towards the chunk inside the mountain, the spider web formation was suddenly projected in his sea of consciousness. It looked complex and inexplicable, just like a star map. It was a 1,000 meters high mountain, so the chunk of the stone inside was extremely massive. The spiritual formation had tens of thousands of lines, spreading out everywhere and connecting with each other. Dozens of the lines were cut off by some power. However, the distances between them weren't too big. Sure, Yen couldn't understand the profundity of the formation or simulate it, but fixing it couldn't trouble him anyway. Sure, Yen could be considered an extraordinary blacksmith. He had studied all kinds of formations in the blacksmith's secrets of success and had a special knowledge of fixing formations. With his soul consciousness as the connector, he coiled it around the two ends of the broken line. His space power seeping into the myriad weighty stone was suddenly activated, its energy. A pure God power flowed like a spirit snake. Following the connection the soul consciousness had formed, it moved to the broken area. Seconds later, The god power started to slowly pull and glue the two ends. It wasn't really hard anyway. Shortly, a swish sound reflected in his soul, and the broken line was mended by his soul consciousness and god power. Shi Yan was cheered up, smiling. He didn't take a break, just focusing and continuing his mending work. He continually used his soul consciousness to find the broken point, then released the god power to connect them. Time flew fast. Shortly, 10 days had passed. The giants, Jester, and Li Shao were still staying with him to guard and observe. Regarding this discovery, the giants were very cautious. Before they could confirm the situation, they all stayed. No one had left yet. Na Xian was the one who got the most nervous. He was tense, watching Shi Yan's operation as hope filled his heart. He hoped that Shi Yan could bring a positive change to his giant tribe, so they could live better in the Agate Star area. On this particular day, Shi Yan suddenly shivered. Sweat beaded on his forehead while his soul flickered unsteadily. Na Xian's group became nervous, as if their hearts were hung on a thread, waiting for something. They knew the critical moment was coming. Boom! A series of strong gravity movements burst out from inside the mountain, and Shi Yan's god body was blown backward. The giants standing nearby the mountain discolored. They felt their body became so heavy that they had to stagger at each step. Instinctively, they stepped backward. Jester and Li Shao were standing afar from this mountain. Still, they could feel the tremendous gravity and had to retreat further. A beam of light blue light suddenly stretched to somewhere far away from the peak of the mountain. That light had the clear energy, fluctuation of extremely terrifying gravity. Shi Yan was blown backward more than 1,000 meters by the shock wave. He hissed, "I'm done fixing it." Na Xian and the other giants were so happy they almost cracked. All of them looked at the light blue beam elongating to somewhere with astonishment. Some then started to fly in that direction. Shi Yan was surprised for a while, talking to Jester. "Bring Li Shao. We're going there to see." Jester nodded, then grabbed the void to pick Li Shao up. They also walked to the destination the light blue light was showing. Na Xian left shortly, looking so happy. After a long time, they gathered again by a new mountain, which was also a bleak and barren one. From all aspects, it was similar to the previous mountain Shi Yan had just fixed. However, the stone atop the mountain was broken, revealing a faint blue light. It was dim and flickering like a candle. The broken peak exposed the ink-black stone underneath. It was the myriad weighty stone again. Shi Yan was astonished. He used the giant sword to cut the mountain, digging a cave to enter the mountain. He was the first one jumping into the mountain. It's the same. This mountain also has myriad weighty stone. Shi Yan stood at the entrance of the cave, turning his head to talk to Na Xian. "I can see a shattered formation inside the mountain, too. It's pretty similar to the previous one." "Oh, it hasn't completed?" Na Xian was shocked. All of a sudden, he talked complacently. "It should have something wonderful." "Shi Yan, put a little bit more effort, please. Fix that formation. I think after you've completed all the formations, the real power of the formations could be activated." All the members of the giant tribe put on a longing face, smiling until their eyes narrowed while looking at Shi Yan. "Ouch! I need to recover first." Shi Yan beamed a forced smile. "I've used a lot of energy. If you ask me to fix it now, I think I won't be able to do it." Jester pondered for a while, then talked to him generously. "Here, these pellets should be enough for you to recover fully and quickly." These 5-colored pellets had a sweet aroma, glowing brilliantly like jewels. Each of these pellets contained an extraordinary energy. They were all high-quality pellets Jester had refined. They were dozens of times better than the one he gave to Li Shao. Shi Yan wasn't trying to be too polite. He grinned, then took all of the pellets, swallowing them straight up. Then he sat down cross-legged by the entrance to adjust his energy. He hoped to recover his full energy at the fastest speed. 3 days later, Shi Yan opened his eyes. He looked bright and refreshed, with high spirit. Then he continued to do his great repairing work. The mountain was the same. The myriad weighty stone inside was also the same, and the similar formation also had the same damage level as the previous formation. To Shi Yan, it was easier because he just needed to repeat what he had done. Gathering his spirit, he started to mend the broken formation, using his soul consciousness and the God power as the source of the connector to connect the broken lines. 7 days later, explosions reverberated inside the mountain. Another bunch of light blue light shot out to an area afar. As expected, they were just surprised for a while before dashing to where the bunch of light pointed. It was another mountain with the same broken formation carved inside the myriad weighty stone. Shi Yan needed to fix it, too. This time, he didn't need people to ask him to fix the formation. Shi Yan took Jester's pellets, then rested to recover his energy. Afterward, he continued fixing the shattered formation. After he had repaired this formation, the blue light pointed to another mountain, and it kept going like that. Shi Yan had to continually fix the broken formations inside the new mountains. 3 months had passed hurriedly. There were 16 mountains in total. They arrayed in a circle, as if they were surrounding something. They measured the area, finding that those 16 mountains circled the massive pit where the 1,000-fold lotuses were deep underground. This discovery cheered up all the giants. This is the 16th mountain, the last one. After Shi Yan's done with it, we will see the change. Na Xian's voice trembled. Perhaps it's related to the 1,000-fold lotus. He licked his lips, talking seriously. Little Yan, you must help us. Standing by the last mountain, Shi Yan retracted his hands, smiling at the giant. Precursor, if we find something or get the 1,000-fold lotus, can we get a share of it? Equal share. Na Xian laughed straightforwardly. I know human clan is cunning, but I like you. No matter what we can get, we will share equally. How does it sound? I know you guys won't lie. Shi Yan grinned, talking frankly. All right, I'm going to fix this last damaged formation. He closed his eyes, concentrating on the last repair. Several days later, a deafening explosion came with a great shaking simultaneously from 16 mountains made of myriad weighty stone. Light bloomed from the center, reaching thousands of meters away. Vaguely, a blue light circle was formed, connecting the mountains. Abruptly, all 16 mountains collapsed while explosions reverberated in that massive pit. Vaguely, something slowly emerged. Chapter 9:14. The Mysterious Ancient City. Chapter 9:14. The Mysterious Ancient City, _ Boom boom. The ear-splitting explosions echoed from the deep place in the massive pit. It seemed like something giant was about to emerge. The massive pit was larger than Tenmu, and it seemed to be almost bottomless. The subterranean gravity inside the pit was hundreds, or even 1,000 times stronger than gravity on the surface. Even Na Xian, who was at ethereal god realm, didn't dare to jump in rashly. Each of the 16 mountains had the myriad weighty stone as its core. The mountains acted like a load of a lever. Once they sank deep underground because of the myriad weighty stone and the heavy gravity, their falling momentum would be terrifying. In the tremendous thunderclaps, 16 mountains pounded on the ground like giant iron hammers. Then, 16 mountains disappeared, sinking deeply into the earth. 16 massive holes appeared strangely as if they kept some stunning secrets. Shi Yan, Jester, Li Shao, and the giants approached the massive hole in the center, waiting for something with weird faces. A long time afterward, a group of grand, imposing palaces slowly emerged from that massive pit. This group of palaces was around Tenmu. Each of the palaces was made of myriad weighty stone with carvings of complex and inexplicable patterns and drawings. They seemed to hide some marvelous secrets. Those palaces were built long, long time ago, and they had been buried underground for an unknown period. Dust and ashes covered everything. The gravity around the palaces was also intimidating. The group of grand palaces emerged completely from the deep pit. They were now situated above that pit. Earth and stones around the massive pit moved toward the center and compacted together, supporting the palaces. At this moment, the huge pit had disappeared, turning into a strange foundation for that group of palaces. The city walls of the palaces were as black as ink, and there were 4 gateways. The palaces looked like massive cubes, dozens of meters high. Each of the gateways was wide open, revealing 4 spacious roads leading to the inside of the palaces. However, these roads were magical. Unlike the other areas, they didn't have the extreme gravity. The palaces were bizarre indeed. Except for the 4 roads leading to the inside of the city, the gravitational field elsewhere was present and several hundreds of times heavier than the natural ground. However, standing on any spot on the roads would save people from the terrible gravity. Na Xian and Shi Yan were perplexed. They dully watched the palaces arising from underground, not knowing what to do. I think we can get in there and see. After a while, all anomalies disappeared. After waiting and seeing nothing else, Shi Yan couldn't help but remind the crowd. Na Xian nodded continually, his eyes astounded. We should go in there and check. Then he led them on a road and entered the city. Shi Yan didn't lag behind. He chuckled, gathering his energy discreetly and walking with Na Xian to the city. This group of palaces was situated on a Tenmu area. It looked like a royal abode. Inside the city, they could see hundreds of different-sized buildings and neatly arranged streets. Each of the buildings here was made of myriad weighty stone, with different patterns and drawings in the wall that perfectly combined with the myriad weighty stone, hiding unknown mysteries. It was strange that the gravity inside the city was normal, which was several hundred times less than on the surface of the old Orchid Star. Shi Yan sensed and found that the gravity in this city was very similar to Raging Flame Star area and Grace mainland, the normal life stars. It seemed like it wasn't affected by the old Orchid Star. Shi Yan was surprised. He released his soul consciousness, scanning the entire palaces. Then he shook his head. No living beings here. Yeah, no living beings indeed, Na Xian nodded, but we found so many skeletons. They saw many peculiar, big skeletons on the streets and inside the houses. They seemed to belong to the pagans, monster clan, or demon clan, whose physiques were huge. And they also found some small skeletons as small as a human child. Thousands, or even tens of thousands of skeletons were scattered around the city, on the streets, and inside the houses. Their postures varied. Some skeletons gathered on the street as if they were speaking to each other when they were still alive. Some stood by the shops as if they were bargaining for some goods. Shi Yan's group also found some sitting skeletons inside the special training yards. They seemed to have been cultivating before they died all of a sudden. It seemed like those thousands of skeletons around the corners of the city were doing their business and didn't know what would happen to them in the next minute. The disaster must have come abruptly. Nobody could have predicted it. All died at their spot. No one survived. Jester touched a skeleton. When his finger touched the bone, the whole skeleton turned into dust, falling to the ground and scattering. His face became gloomy, a little bit pale. It has decayed for so many years, dozens of thousands of years at least. Even if they were stronger when they were alive, they can't resist time. After the energy has dispersed all, the skeleton couldn't resist anymore. Li Xiao and the giants also tried. They came up with the same results. Whether it was a huge or lanky skeleton, once they touched it, it turned into bone, dust, and fall. So weak. Perhaps some of them used to be formidable. However, since they had died for tens of thousands of years, the energy in their bodies had all vanished. They became feeble indeed. Thousandfold lotus. Na Xan suddenly shouted, dashing towards an area, his face thrilled. Thump, thump, thump. The thudding footsteps of the giants echoed like drumming. All the giant soldiers ran after Na Xan, their countenance excited. Na Xan didn't hesitate, much taking Jester and Li Xiao there as well. In the middle of the city, there was a massive pool. The pool was pitch black, as if the water in there was actually ink. It looked thick and viscous. A faint but pure aroma diffused from this pool. Jetting from the water of the pool was the thousandfold lotuses. The thousandfold lotus looked like water lilies that were much larger. Each of its petals was like brown glass, growing magnificently. Each thousandfold had 1,000 set of petals. From the seed pod outward, the number of the petals also increased. The ink-like water in the pool bubbled. 23,000-fold lotuses grew in every corner of the pool, as if someone had arranged them that way with hidden meanings. After they came, some of them released soul consciousness to sense. Immediately, they felt like their brains were shaken hard with buzzing and echoing sounds. Be careful. Don't release your soul consciousness. If you stir up your sea of consciousness, something serious will hit you hard. Na Xan hissed, preventing people from acting rashly. His reminder was a little bit too late. Jester and Li Xiao sat down, their eyes empty as their sea of consciousness was surging very hard and they couldn't bear it. They were frightened. Apparently, they had used soul consciousness to sense the flowers. Shi Yan sneered and then walked to Jester and Li Xiao. He stretched both hands above their heads. The strange energy of his soul urged. An extremely cold air shot out from his fingers, which looked like transparent threads, entering Jester's and Li Xiao's heads. Their chaotic sea of consciousness gradually calmed down under the effect of his strange energy. After a while, Jester and Li Xiao recovered. They paled and grimaced, not daring to act rashly anymore. When they looked at thousandfold lotuses, they seemed scared. They understood that if Shi Yan didn't help them in time, when their sea of consciousness got completely chaotic, it would explode their souls. There was a high possibility that they would become crazy and never get their mentality healed again. Na Xan glanced at the two of them, frowning. The thousandfold lotus is really eccentric. Your realm is low, and you aren't mysterious like Little Yan. Don't rush. Jester and Li Xiao beamed a forced smile, nodding in agreement. They had made up their minds. 23,000-fold lotuses scattered in the pool. When the bubbles in the water exploded, they created a black mist covering the entire pool like a black fabric sheet. Faint energy fluctuated from that mist. Na Xan and the giants became excited, but they didn't dare act recklessly. They wanted to see if this palace had something magical. This grand and imposing city suddenly emerged in the old orchid star. Inside the city was a pitch-black pool that seemed to be the resource that nurtured the thousandfold lotuses. That pool should have something good. The more mysterious it was, the more dangerous it could be. As they knew nothing about this place, they had to restrain their excitement. Ah, sure. Yan suddenly lifted his face and studied the walls around. He was astounded, shouting, "The city wall is taking in heaven and earth energy." Na Xan was very surprised, closing his eyes to sense. True, the strange patterns and drawings on the walls are also complicated formations. They can draw earth and heaven energy. This ancient city should have some exquisite spirit-gathering formations. It can gather earth and heaven energy. Those formations are even more perfect and marvelous than ones that I can make, Shi Yan complimented. After several minutes, he found that earth and heaven energy inside the city was much thicker than the energy in Old Orchid Star. Old Orchid Star was a level 7 life star with dense earth and heaven energy. The spirit-gathering formation had guided and thickened earth and heaven energy, pouring it into the ancient city and making it more abundant that it almost broke the limit. Warriors cultivating in this city could harvest a lot to increase their realms. Excellent. Yen grinned continually. We wanted to build a city, and now it has just come to us. Haha. Exan was bewildered. You little boy, you are so lucky. Everything you touch becomes a fortune. This ancient city is big enough for our fellows. Yen rubbed his chin, looking at the architecture of the city and speaking to Exan. Although houses in this city aren't small, it's still uncomfortable to the giants. I think it's not suitable for you guys to live here, right? Buildings in this ancient city weren't low. Living beings around 5 meters tall could stay here. However, giant children were already 10 meters tall. It would be a burden for them to live in this city. Apparently, the giants had never lived in this city before because it didn't have any similar buildings suitable for the giants. Oh, then can we have this ancient city? Yen smiled, asking. Chapter 9:15 Harvest. Chapter 9:15 Harvest, sir. No. Exan shook his head firmly and then forced a smile. If this ancient city can draw earth and heaven energy continually, cultivating here can help warriors a lot. However, it's like a country of the dwarves to our tribe. I want to consider this matter more. Let's see if we can build more houses, the ones that our fellow giants can live in. Apparently, he didn't want to give it up. This ancient city was magical indeed. However, at this moment, they didn't know much about this place. They didn't know what it was most suitable for. However, they knew that this place was very good for warriors to cultivate. Since the giants were also warriors, how could they give up a place that could boost their cultivation? How can we take the 1,000-fold lotuses? Yen pondered, looking at Exan. They need a special container. Otherwise, their magical energy will disperse. And how to refine that container? I don't know. Exan beamed a forced smile. I will find someone to fabricate the container. After that, we will try to take the lotuses. I'm a blacksmith, Yen said seriously. Tell me the materials. I can forge it for you. Materials? Exan scratched his head, speaking begrudgingly. I still need to ask someone. All right, so we will leave the 1,000-fold lotus for now. We're going to check this ancient city for once. Let's see if it has anything else strange. All right. Yen, Jester, and Li Xiao formed a team, walking around the city to see if they could find anything good. The giants also scattered to different places of the city, raking through every corner to see if they could find anything special. This ancient city wasn't really big. It wasn't bigger than utmost 8 purgatory cities Yen had built before. Yen's team walked east. They searched each house carefully. Many corpses lay inside the houses. However, their skin and flesh were all gone, leaving only the decayed skeletons which scattered away at the first touch. After tens of thousands of years buried deep under the ground of the old Orchid Star, all things in this city had gradually lost their magical effects under the terrifying gravity. Many skeletons still had accessories like rings and jewels. However, they were all broken, and the items they stored inside were all damaged once they were exposed. No beam of energy could be found. Checking each house, they couldn't find anything useful. The team was disappointed. The 3 of them walked to the tallest building in the east part of the city. This building was like a 9-level tower, which looked similar to a soul altar. This tower had a large foundation, and it got smaller all the way to the top. The main gate of that building was closed, and so were the doors of the other levels. This building didn't have a single window. It was also made of the black myriad weighty stone. However, there was no trace on the wall that proved that it was formed naturally. The 3 of them stood by the main door, trying to push it open. However, No matter how hard they had tried, they couldn't open it. Their soul consciousness couldn't seep through the stone either. Shi Yan even took the divine sword and slashed it several times. He could only leave some shallow mark on the stone door. "We can't break it," Jester shook his head. "This building doesn't look like other houses. It doesn't have any drawings or patterns, and it's not made of only the myriad weighty stone. It should have some other strange material. The myriad weighty stone is a top-quality stone material. I don't know which material can combine with the myriad weighty stone. However, I can confirm that refined myriad weighty stone is the toughest material in the world." Li Xiao also expressed his agreement. "If we can't find the secret, we will never get into the place." Secret. Shi Yan smiled. "All the items in this ancient city are decayed and rusted. Nothing remains. Where will we find the secret then?" "I don't know either." Li Xiao opened his arms, indicating that he had no idea. The three of them wandered around the tower building, trying everything they knew. However, they didn't succeed. Begrudgingly, they could only return to the pool where grew the 1,000-fold lotuses. At this moment, the giants had already returned. They were discussing something loudly. "What did you find?" Na Xian smiled, asking Shi Yan. "A strange building that looks like a tower. It has 9 levels, but we couldn't open it. Did you find anything special?" "No. We found something." Shi Yan's eyes brightened. "What is it?" Na Xian unfolded his hand, smiling. "These 3 things. They didn't decay after tens of thousands of years. Still intact." On his massive palm were a huge scarlet dragon skull with a red light moving on its surface, a woodlock around the size of a brick with natural textures as complicated as lines in human palms, and a small, thin book that was yellowed like a dried leaf. The thick words in that book looked like tadpoles. Shi Yan didn't know what language it was and which race it came from. "I know 2 of them." Na Xian smiled contentedly. "Please do tell." Shi Yan was eager to learn. "This is the skull of the most valiant and dangerous evil dragon, a strong branch of the dragon clan. This evil dragon could be at level 13, as strong as an incipient god realm warrior. Its skull hasn't decayed, yet even though it has been more than tens of thousands of years. It's the toughest and most magical bone then." Pausing for a while, Na Xian smiled and continued, "To our giants, it's a good thing. After fusing it with our god body, we can reach a whole new level." While he was talking, the other warriors of the giant tribe all looked at that evil dragon skull with a great desire in their eyes. Apparently, each soldier of the giant tribe knew the benefits that this skull could bring them. Evil Dragon was one of the strongest branches of the dragon clan. They were famous for their tough body and bones. A level 13 evil dragon was extremely rare. It could be compared to an incipient god realm expert. The skull was the unbreakable part of the evil dragon. To the giants who were good at physical training, it was the best treasure. "What else?" asked Shi Yan. "This lumber has a special, natural texture. If I'm not wrong, it's a piece of life ancient tree of the Wood Clan." Na Xian paused for a while and then explained seriously. "Legends say that the Wood Clan was born by a mysterious ancient tree. They call it the Life Ancient Tree. The power Upanishad the Wood Clan has been cultivating comes from the wood texture of that ancient tree." "Where is that Life Ancient Tree?" asked Shi Yan. "I don't know. People say that it disappeared in the ancient time. The wood texture of the Life Ancient Tree is formed naturally. It's not something people could carve. The wood texture is the basic power Upanishad the Wood Clan cultivates. This lumber should be an original incipient grade material. If the Wood Clan fellows could have it and comprehend the mysteries of the wood texture, they would gain supernatural powers." Na Xian frowned and continued. "I heard that the Wood Clan can use a special method to fuse the lumber of the Life Ancient Tree into their body, which then brings them greater advantages. I think this lumber is the most precious treasure in this world to any member of the Wood clan. How precious? Asked Shiryen. Na Exan smiled, not trying to conceal anything. I think the value of this lumber is enough to exchange for several life stars if we deal with the experts of the Wood clan. Several life stars. Shiryen was dumbstruck. Nodded, Na Exan confirmed. It's useless to other clans, but it's a unique treasure to the Wood clan. Intimidating existences of the Wood clan could go crazy because of it. They could give up everything just to have this lumber. Shiryen was moved, asking again, "How about that book?" "I'm not sure about it," Na Exan shook his head. "The language in this book is strange. I have never seen or heard about it before. However, since it could survive tens of thousands of years, it should be miraculous. Unfortunately, we can't understand the words." Oh, Shiryen smiled. "Precursor, you said that we would share all things equally, right?" Na Exan smiled withered. After a long moment, he nodded reluctantly. "Tell me, how did you want to share them?" "The evil dragon skull, the piece of the life ancient tree of the Wood clan," Shiryen stretched his voice. Na Exan and the giants put on a bad countenance. They stooped as if it was their parents' funeral. All were dispirited. "I want neither of them," Shiryen added, and then pointed at the ancient book. "I want that freaking book." Na Exan's eyes brightened. The giants also cheered loudly. They didn't pretend or hide emotions, showing their real joy and excitement. "You're a good guy. It's for you." Na Exan flicked his finger to throw the unknown ancient book to Shiryen as fast as he could, as if he was afraid that Shiryen would change his mind. Then he hastened to stash away the evil dragon skull and the lumber of the life ancient tree, laughing happily. "Done. You can't change your mind. The evil dragon skull and the lumber belong to me." The giant tribe was well known for their kind nature. They weren't narrow-minded or sinister. They would show their hatred and friendliness on their faces. It was easy to live with this race. "We can't take advantage of you." Na Exan was a little embarrassed. Hesitating for a while, he said, "After we could harvest those 23, you guys should take 13 of them. It's the compensation for your loss. Please don't reject it." "Okay," Shiryen agreed frankly and forthrightly. Tribal oldie, tribal oldie. While they had just sealed their deal, an earth-shaking voice arose from the grand mountain of the giant tribe. A muscular giant ran toward them, his body damp with sweat. After he arrived, he was startled to see the ancient city. Then he shouted, "Tribal oldie, Jingu is back. He's wounded severely." Na Exan changed his visage, walking out of the city and headed to the grand mountain. He didn't even have time to notify Shiryen. All the giants followed him, cursing and shouting indignantly. Shiryen was surprised. Hesitating for a while, he turned to Jester and Li Shao. "We should go and check it out too." Chapter 9:16. The Ransom of 700,000 Divine Crystals. Chapter 9:16. The Ransom of 700,000 Divine Crystals. Grand Mountain Range. A beefy giant lay on the ground in the mountain. He looked pale and exhausted. Standing next to him were 5 giant soldiers. They also had wounds all over their body. They stooped, not saying anything, their face dismal. Xiao Man kneeled on the ground. His eyes were watery as he sobbed and called, "Dad." The giant tribe lived in the old Orchid Star. Their population was just several hundred. Na Exan was the only tribal oldie and the one who had the highest realm at the second sky of Ethereal God Realm. Na Exan was the only second sky of Ethereal God Realm warrior of the giant tribe. Under his command was Xiao Man's father, Jingu, the current chief of the giant tribe. He had the first sky of Ethereal God Realm cultivation base. In the far west of the Agate Star area, he had quite the reputation. At this moment, Jingu was hurt severely, which was mainly from the damage in his soul altar. His eyes were dim and reflected no light. When Shi Yan, Jester, and Li Shao arrived, Na Xan was frowning, asking the 5 wounded soldiers to explain the situation. Listening to the soldiers, Na Xan grimaced as rage filled his eyes. After Shi Yan had arrived, he just listened, not participating in their conservation. Shortly after, he knew what had happened. The old Orchid Star was in the far west of the Agate Star area, one of the most remote areas in this star area. There were around 10 life stars near the old Orchid Star where the members of the Demon Clan and the Monster Clan dwelt. Besides this far west area, there was another strange place, Broken Star Field. Broken Star Field was in the center of the 10 life stars in the far west. Rumor said that it was formed by countless pieces of dead stars. The Broken Star Field was rich with special cultivating materials. Some people used to find original, incipient grade materials there. Because of this reason, many lived around this area, and warriors from other regions of the Agate Star area would also often come to the Broken Star Field to collect materials. The giant tribe often went to the Broken Star Field to find some special materials to exchange for divine crystals or something suitable for their cultivation. Anyway, the Broken Star Field wasn't a peaceful place. It was very chaotic. A group of lazy bandits in the Broken Star Field who didn't want to work often robbed the weak forces when they had found something special. This bandit group were dominant forces, so they were confident enough. Zhen Gu had brought 10 giant soldiers on that trip. They had found a valuable heaven fiery crystal. However, a force came to rob the fruit of their labor before they could harvest the crystals. Of course, Zhen Gu and the giants wouldn't let them do that. They burst out fighting. The giants won. However, the giants were always kind and friendly. They didn't destroy the others and instead let them leave. Shortly afterward, the bandits came back with more support. They had prepared for a new battle. Zhen Gu and his giant fellows were beaten up. Not only did the attackers occupy the Heaven Fiery Crystal Mine, but they also damaged the giants badly. They had captured 7 giants and asked Zhen Gu to give 100,000 top-quality divine crystals to exchange for 1 giant. If they didn't submit enough divine crystals, they wouldn't let the hostages go. Those giants would become their mind slaves forever. That force had 2 leaders. Both of them were at the second sky of ethereal god realm. Zhen Gu and his giants weren't their equal opponents. They retreated, defeated. Zhen Gu had his soul altar damaged badly. His condition was awful, and it would take a lot of time to recover. Although they had not Xian, they had only 1 second sky of ethereal god realm. If they had to fight, they would be defeated again. 7 giants means 700,000 top-quality divine crystals. We can't give so many divine crystals like that. One of the wounded soldiers gritted his teeth. Tribal oldie, we should risk our lives and fight them. I know where their base is. Na Xian was worried. He didn't smile as he used to do. Light sparkled in his eyes, continually as if he was considering something. After a while, Na Xian sighed weakly. They have 2 second sky of ethereal god realm experts. Our tribe has only me at this level. Zhen Gu was able to fight once, but he's hurt now. If we have to fight them, nothing good will happen. As the tribal oldie of the giant tribe, he knew what to consider, which was to protect the giants. He didn't let anger confuse him. But we can never get 700,000 divine crystals. One of the others hissed. His eyes were bloodshot like a caged wild beast struggling painfully. Tribal oldie, Zhen Gu exhaled, his face ashen. We can't be impulsive. We aren't. They're equal matches. Na Xian forced a smile. I won't lose my mind. For the future of our tribe, I won't act recklessly. He sighed. Then he stepped forward and patted Zhen Gu by his shoulder. Glancing at Xiao Man sobbing, he smiled reluctantly. Don't worry. I'll handle this. I won't let our fellows be humiliated by becoming the other's slaves. But 700,000 divine crystals? Zhang wanted to get up. Even if we gather all of what we have, we would still lack a lot. We might have no solution if this happened sometime before. However, while you were away, some distinguished guests came. Na Exayan glanced at Shiryen, comforting them. Don't worry. If I say I can handle it, I won't let our fellow giants be imprisoned. I promise you. Listening to his solemn words, Zhang could ease his mind a little bit. However, he was still confused. Take a good rest, Na Exayan said weakly, and then turned to the other 5 giants. You all too. Go rest and recover well. The children need you to live well. Wah! Dad, I swear I will take revenge for you. Xiao Man cried hoarsely, clenching his fists. His eyes were watery as he said, I will definitely become stronger. I will kill all of my dad's enemies. Good boy, good boy. I know. You will be stronger than your old man. Zhang tired face was loving. But you have to promise me that before you are capable, you will never act impulsively. I understand. Dad, I understand. Xiao Man is a good boy. The teenager nodded resolutely, his young and tender face filled with reverence. Na Exayan sighed inwardly, asking Zhengu and the other 5 giants to rest. He took around 10 giants, leaving in anger. Oldie, no matter what you want to do, we will support you. The 10 giants were longing for a fight. It was obvious on their kind and honest faces. The giant tribe was never cowardly. Quite the contrary, they were valiant and powerful. The same level warriors weren't equal matches to the giants. However, there were 2 reasons explained why this race wasn't strong enough. First, their population was small, and their reproduction wasn't quick enough. The other reason was their simple minds. People always took advantage of them. In many battles to compete for materials or other goods, they always fell into the disadvantageous position. Gradually, they lost cultivating materials, while enemies plotted against their members who died on the battlefield. Even if they were strong, with this kind of decrease for tens of thousands of years, they would decline. Their tribe was gradually declining. Absolutely, we won't fight. Na Exayan darkened his visage. We aren't strong enough. If we lose our members, our number will decrease even more. We've been in the disadvantageous for tens of thousands of years. If we don't change our mindset to be more patient instead of fighting recklessly, our tribe will be extinct. Listening to him, 10 muscular giants quieted down. Little Yen, what do you think? Na Exayan pondered for a while. He couldn't help but turn to Shiryen. If we aren't strong, we can only be patient. When we accumulate enough, it will not be too late to take revenge. Shiryen considered for a while and then continued to give his ideas. We got a big harvest this time. When we can pick up 23,000-fold lotuses, we will bring a tremendous advancement to your tribe. I think you guys will get stronger shortly. You still have the evil dragon skull and the lumber from the life-ancient tree of the Wood Clan. They all can bring you immeasurable benefits. If you have time, you can take revenge after. Your human clan does have a good vision. Yeah, you are the clan that knows how to rest and accumulate power, Na Exa nodded. I will decide to apply your ideas. I want to sell that lumber from the life-ancient tree of the Wood Clan. I think we will have enough divine crystals to pay the ransom for our fellows. It's true, Shiryen smiled. I want to go to the Broken Star Field. Are you interested? Asked Na Exayan. Shiryen was bewildered. The Broken Star Field is the center of the far west. It has cities and explorers from different races of the Agate Star area. It's a kind of hustle and bustle type city, I think. After a trip to that place, you will have a better understanding of the Agate Star area. With only my words, it's hard to understand the area, said Na Exayan sincerely. It sounds nice. We don't have many things to do here. Shiryen thought and then nodded with a smile. All right, I will go with you. Yeah, I need to arrange my people. I will bring some of them. Come here 3 days later. We will depart. Great. Shi Yan arrived at their temporary gathering point. Shi Yan only told Fei Lan, Leona, Yang Tian Emperor, and Long Zhu about the discovery of the thousand-fold lotus and the mysterious ancient city. He asked them not to tell anyone else. Whether it was the mysterious city or the thousand-fold lotus, they were critical matters that could drive people crazy with greed. Many races from Grace mainland weren't loyal to them. Some were their enemies previously. If they knew about these things, it was unknown whether they would have different thoughts. They could sell Shi Yan's team out to gain more benefits. For example, if they told the experts in the other areas of the Agate Star area, people living in the old Orchid Star would receive a disaster pouring on their heads. Then he told them he wanted to go to the Broken Star field. Fei Lan, Leona, Katua, Yang Tian Emperor, Xiao, and Feng Rao also wanted to go to open their eyes to the general situation of the Agate Star area. 3 days later, Shi Yan brought around 10 warriors to the grand mountain of the giant tribe. They sat neatly on the giant's shoulder and departed from the old Orchid Star to go to the Broken Star field. Chapter 9:17. Yang Tian Emperor is well prepared. Chapter 9:17. Yang Tian Emperor is well prepared, Including Na Xan, there were 4 giants who left the old Orchid Star. Na Xan was at second sky of ethereal god realm, and the other 3 were at third sky of original god realm. Shi Yan brought 9 warriors, including Fei Lan, Leona, Katua, Karthu, Xiao, Feng Rao, Yang Tian Emperor, Long Zhu, and Jester. Including Shi Yan, there were 10 members of this team. Due to the tremendous gravity of the old Orchid Star, the warriors with low realms, Feng Rao, Yang Tian Emperor, and Long Zhu, couldn't use their powers to get rid of the gravity and jump into space. However, as soon as they left the old Orchid Star, the pressure they had to endure disappeared immediately. They calmed down and felt better. Yang Tian Emperor and Long Zhu had the lowest realm here. They were at third sky of true God realm. They hadn't reached King God realm yet. It would be hard for them to move in outer space. However, with the coverage by Shi Yan and the others, they were going to be safe and sound. After they departed the old Orchid Star, Yang Tian Emperor lifted his head to observe the starry sky in the vast galaxy, sinking into his thoughts. A desperate, mournful, and begrudging thought diffused from his aura. However, since his eyes brightened shortly afterward, it disappeared. Brilliant light suddenly twirled around his body as his soul altar spun. Na Xan glanced at him, and then he got frightened. This kind of power Upanishad is really profound. Look at this energy fluctuation. I think he will break through soon. Shi Yan's eyes brightened. He studied Yang Tian Emperor for a while, and then frowned, speaking to Jester. Do you have any suitable pellets to help the warrior break through to King God realm? Jester felt a pain in his heart, and he nodded. Yeah. How many do you want? Cough, cough. Long Zhu caught everyone's attention, speaking embarrassedly. I'm also about to break through. When I was in Grace mainland, I was just 1 step away. If the energy there were enough, I would be at King God realm by now. Shi Yan was surprised. When he knew Long Zhu, the old man had already been at the peak of true God realm. It was true that he was just 1 step away from the new realm. After they had arrived in the old Orchid Star, Long Zhu had prepared to break through. Seeing Shi Yan asking Jester for pellets, he became thick-skinned to ask for one too. Jester was a divine grade alchemist, the famously talented individual in the Raging Flame Star area. The pellets he refined were several levels higher than the alchemist of Grace mainland. Give me all that you have. Sure, Yin pondered for a while and then grinned. I'm just borrowing them. I will pay you back later. Of course. I believe you. Jester wasn't so content. However, he still sincerely took out the pellets from his fantasy skyring. These bottles have the pellets to nurture the soul and refine the god body. They should be more than enough for them. Shi Yan's eyes brightened, smiling. All right, don't show me that face. You will receive more in the future. Jester became happy. Remember that you said that. You have to keep it in your mind. Shi Yan, if you don't have enough pellets, I have some here. You can give them to your great-grandfather, Ziyao said softly. Feng Rao was bewildered for a while, and then she hastened to say, I have some too. Ha ha. Jester laughed happily. They are going to break through to the king god realm from the true god realm. They won't need so many pellets like that. I've given them enough. You girls don't need to do so. Hearing him, Ziyao and Feng Rao gave up the thought of giving away their pellets. They glanced at each other and then turned around. Shi Yan rubbed his nose, pretending to have not seen anything. He divided the pellets that Jester gave him into 2 proportions and threw them at Yang Tian Emperor and Long Zhu. As Yang Tian Emperor and Long Zhu were prepared, they didn't hesitate. They opened up the bottle and swallowed the pellets. After taking in the pellets, just like other warriors when they advanced into the king god realm, Long Zhu started his process step by step. He began to condense his god body first. But Yang Tian Emperor was different. His body suddenly emitted an immense blood qi, which was abundant to the Acme after he had swallowed the pellets. It seemed like he had absorbed the power from the pellets easily. An immense energy surged, winding around him like bunches of light. Yang Tian Emperor closed his eyes, his face solemn. The marvelous, desperate, intent domain was released. Shortly after, it became the god domain easily. Inside his god domain, Shi Yan, Ziyao, Feng Rao, Fei Lan Leona, and even the members of the giant tribe were affected. A haunting shadow appeared in their mind while thick clouds covered their sea of consciousness. A thought of despair arose in their hearts. This intent domain is extreme. Fei Lan couldn't help but hiss. She looked at Yang Tian Emperor with respect. I have never seen this kind of power Upanishad before. Na Xian frowned, observing Yang Tian Emperor for a while. All of a sudden he shouted, Despair power! It's the despair power! My oh my! Shi Yan turned his head around. Precursor, you! Our agate star area has a legend of a man who had cultivated despair power. Every time he fell into despair, he became stronger, his power rocketing endlessly. It seemed like he didn't have a limitation. He was the invincible legend of the agate star area. Tens of thousands of years ago, he was the overlord of the star area. I heard that his power was intimidating. He could always challenge people who had higher realms than his. Although he disappeared for many years, we still talk about his legends. Na Xian took a deep breath, his face solemn as he looked at Yang Tian Emperor. The despair power is tough to perceive. No inheritance could generate this power Upanishad. Also, there are no books or scripture about it. Rumor says that only some extreme individuals who are very cruel to themselves can practice this. The giants were scared, looking at Yang Tian Emperor with deep fear. Fei Lan Leona and Katua were also frightened, their faces unnatural. Yang Tian Emperor was the undying legend in the endless, the real overlord. He was the sort of man that Na Xian had mentioned. He was cruel, ruthless, and extreme to himself to break through a realm. Yang Tian Emperor wasn't afraid to initially intrude the demon area, letting demon kings Bo Sun and Qi Yan bind him to the great formation of the demon clan. He was tortured for many years. He had lived as a skeleton inside that magical formation for dozens of years. He understood this kind of pain. He wanted to get in there to endure the torture that wasn't designed for humans. He was absolutely an extreme person. After breaking through to the true God realm, he had finally comprehended the meanings of despair. When Grace Mainland ran out of power, all people fell into depression. And Yang Tian Emperor's realm in the most desperate situation was still increasing. Under the given circumstances of an exhausted continent, he had reached third sky of true God realm in a few dozen years. He was absolutely a genius, one of the most ruthless and extreme kinds of men. Yang Tian Emperor could break through in a place like Grace Mainland and reach high realms. As soon as he arrived in the Agate Star area, he burst out his outstanding features because he had accumulated for years for this moment. Yang Tian Emperor had the immortal demon blood, and he understood the mysteries of the immortal rebirth secret. He was terrifically wise, resilient, and persistent. After he had collected all the supplements, he seemed to have made the final step. The tremendous blood qi moved like blood snakes swimming in his body. Shortly after, his body became red like a hot iron. Murky air oozed out from his body. Yang Tian Emperor's process of refining the god body was several times faster than that of Long Zhu. After only 1 hour, Yang Tian Emperor had finished refining his god body. He opened his cold eyes. His pupils seemed more capable of putting people into endless despair. "Do you still have more pellets?" He looked at Shi Yan. Shi Yan looked at Zi Yao and Feng Rao. The two women understood. They immediately took out the suitable pellets in their fantasy sky rings. They didn't hand them to Shi Yan, but threw them directly at Yang Tian Emperor. He snatched the pellets, not looking to see what they were, and just swallowed them as if the pellets were beans. He closed his eyes, murmuring, "I will break through continually." Everybody was frightened. Alchemist Jester was confused. Could he endure so many pellets like that? If the number of pellets he consumes is more than he can endure, he will explode. As soon as he finished, his words became true. Yang Tian Emperor immediately shot out blood. His bones cracked loudly. Beams of blood shot out while his vessels exploded, his bones cracking and releasing marrow. At this moment, Yang Tian Emperor looked mournful like a wailing ghost. He didn't have any deliberate gleam like in the past. However, at this moment, he was still cold and ruthless like an ice rock. He didn't seem to feel the pain. People could even see a crazy, insane smile on his mouth. A madman. A crazy devil. A maniac. Not Xan. Fei Lan, Leona, and Zi Yao looked at him bewilderedly. They also had the same thought. From the true God realm, he takes one step to enter the king God realm, condensing the God body and creating the God domain. He had them done in one vigorous effort and continued to enter the second sky of king God realm. Have you ever seen or heard of anyone like him? Carthu felt that his throat was dry, licking his lips and looking at Leona with a forced smile. Leona was called the crazy devil in Raging Flamestar area. She furrowed her eyebrows. The scars on her face twitched, her eyes complicated. No, never before. Fei Lan looked at Na Xan. Na Xan shook his head, giving a forced smile. It's not very likely. Basically, it's not easy to enter the king God realm from the true God realm. Without several years to study the realm, the warrior can't grasp the needed requirements to open the next door. He's an unusual fellow. Except for Shi Yan, everybody else was afraid, discussing Yang Tian Emperor's mysterious and magical progress. My great-grandfather was always a hero for his whole life. He had walked the path that people didn't dare to take, thought of things that people didn't dare to think, endured the pain that nobody dared to endure. Of course, nobody could catch up with his attainment. Sure, Yen just smiled deliberately. Under people's attentive looks, Yang Tian Emperor's god body had broken to a level where it looked like a bloody, shattered skeleton. He looked no different from a corpse. To ordinary people, getting hurt at that level meant that their god body was completely damaged. However, after his god body was burst off, Yang Tian Emperor's heart was still beating vigorously, constantly releasing the immense blood qi. A miracle happened quickly. His broken vessels wiggled like small snakes, connecting each other. His bones produced new marrow, and then they became transparent and shiny like jewels. On his bloody skeleton, new blood and flesh grew, rapidly reviving. His god body was closest to a cooperating machine, which was producing blood, flesh, marrow, and vessels. This was the miraculous recovery power of the mortal rebirth secret. Apparently, Yang Tian Emperor had a much more profound level in practicing the immortal rebirth secret than Shi Yan. Also, his attainment was much more significant. Chapter 918. A Long, Lonely Journey. Chapter 918. A Long, Lonely Journey, _ In this galaxy, twinkling stars as gorgeous as pieces of broken diamonds shined beautifully in the dark universe. A group of 10 people was moving quickly like shuttles heading to the far west of the agate star area, the broken star field created by countless broken stars. Long Zhu closed his eyes, still condensing his god body. Just like most of the warriors, he didn't have anything strange happen to him. Yang Tian Emperor was also breaking through the new realm, but he was very different. Right from the start, he had many unique things happen. The commotion he created was also more significant. Shi Yan and Na Xan didn't pay much attention to Long Zhu as they were busy watching Yang Tian Emperor. Time flew hurriedly. 5 days passed. The despair intent domain Yang Tian that Emperor had released had never decreased. It became more refined and powerful. The energy of his power Upanishad was constantly increasing. People inside his god domain had their soul altar covered with a dim layer. It was like a ghost peeping on their souls, bringing them despair. They wanted to kill as their minds were all confused and hazy. Warriors with a lower realm would have their soul shaken. They would carry that imprint of fear and confusion for the rest of their lives. His god body had recovered under the power of a mortal rebirth secret, which was genuinely terrifying indeed. His broken vessels reconnected. Flesh and blood grew on his healed skeleton. From a bloody skeleton, after several days, he recovered. He didn't look too different from himself before the breakthrough. Except for Shi Yan, everybody was chilled seeing this. Undying body. This tremendous recovery ability was scarce in the agate star area. No race could reach such level or recovery. This made people dispirited and hopeless. They thought that Yang Tian Emperor had received favors from God, but they didn't know what he had experienced or what he had paid to gain his today's attainment. Yang Tian Emperor's body refining was finished, but his realm was still progressing. He stood neatly as his soul altar quietly spun. The energy of his power Upanishad rolled massively and became more intimidating. Gradually, Na Xan and Fei Lan felt like they were witnessing something unbelievable. They thought that it was so unreal. Usually, when the warrior broke through to the new realm, it was hard to grow. However, Yang Tian Emperor had broken this chain. While he was breaking through, it seemed like his realm was increasing unlimitedly. He still slowly and steadily walked forward. After 10 more days, Yang Tian Emperor's soul altar gradually calmed down. His terrifying god domain quietly dispersed. People finally felt relaxed a little bit. Then, Yang Tian Emperor woke up. His visage was calm and natural, his eyes peaceful and quiet. Although the desperate, intent domain that frightened people had disappeared, the feeling that it brought to them was still winding around their sea of consciousness. They always had an unknown pressure that they couldn't describe. Great-grandfather, how do you feel now? Shi Yan was smiling, asking seriously. Yang Tian Emperor had something different in his eyes. He nodded, speaking coldly, not bad. The second sky of King God Realm. Yeah, I've lacked a little bit. Or else, I would have entered one level further. Listening to him, people had their eyes sparkle strangely as they were perplexed. Shi Yan, I'm not going with you guys more. Yang Tian Emperor pondered for a while, and then spoke all of a sudden. Shi Yan was surprised. Why? Yang Tian Emperor turned his head. looking at a place deep in the agate star area, his eyebrows twitching. He spoke faintly. I don't know why something in this star area has attracted me. While I was breaking through, a vibe came to my soul altar. I think I should go there alone and check it out. Also, I need time to stabilize my realm. Something attracted you? Na Exian's voice was dry as he had a strange thought. He shook his head to clean that thought away. Can you tell me more details? Sure, Yen, Phelan, and Leona looked at him in astonishment. I can't say, young Tian Emperor shook his head, but I'm sure that this is important to me. It can help me and give me more benefits. Then, great-grandpa, you have to be careful. The agate star area isn't similar to our Grace mainland. There are as many experts as trees in the forest. There are many different races here. Although you've reached the second sky of King God Realm, you can't always act rashly. Be cautious, advised Shi Yen. Of course, he didn't oppose that. Yang Tian Emperor wasn't a man who acted without a clear target. If he wasn't sure, he would never speak about it. If he spoke about something strange, he definitely understood and confirmed it. The agate star area was a high-quality star area with endless mysteries. If Yang Tian Emperor could harvest something there, Shi Yen would feel happy for him. He wouldn't stand in his way. You should also be careful, Yang Tian Emperor smiled, speaking to him softly. This star area has many strange things. You always cause trouble, but you're a person of discretion. I hope you will always be watchful and know your goals and direction. Pausing for a while, he glanced at Long Zhu, not saying more. He nodded to other people and then diverged. Breaking through to the second sky of King God Realm, he could walk into the void without worrying about the energy storm grinding him into powder. When he departed this time, people were all looking for the day he came back. It was unknown why they all felt that when they saw him again, he would surprise people again. Yang Tian Emperor's lonely body flashed, dashing into the void and disappeared. Gradually, he became a black spot that blended into the dark universe. Sure, Yen silently looked at him disappear until he couldn't see his great-grandpa anymore. Then he turned around, murmuring, "Let's go." Na Xian and Phelan looked at that lonely but brave figure merging into outer space. They nodded, saying nothing more. However, they had the same thought in their mind. This extreme man would become another legend of the agate star area. He was destined to ascend to a high position. From that, he would tower over most of the experts, his light shrouding them. This feeling had no cause. Thinking about it further, they found that it was almost unimaginable. Anyway, Yang Tian Emperor was just a small warrior at the second sky of King God Realm. Still, both Phelan and Na Xian had the same thought. They thought that it was evident that he would reach such height. The journey from the old orchid star to the broken star field was going to take several months at the speed of the giants. Shi Yan's team flew together with Na Xian toward the direction he had told them in the dark, gloomy outer space. Precursor, why don't you have a battleship? Isn't it faster to travel using the battleship? One day, Katua couldn't help but ask. In our raging flame star area, battleships are everywhere. Big and strong battleships could activate the power of the divine crystals to move at breakneck speed. It's more comfortable, and the warriors can cultivate inside the battleship. They don't need to consume energy. It's much easier, right? When Jester and Zi Yao heard Katua say that, they couldn't help but turn to Na Xian. Na Xian beamed a forced smile, sighing. The battleships are the main vehicles in the agate star area. High-level battleships are very dangerous and famous. However, our race is special. Why do you said so? Katua was curious. Most of the battleships in the agate star area aren't suitable for our tribe. Na Xian was a little bit embarrassed. Our physiques are too huge. There are no suitable battleships for us unless we got it customized. However, the cost would be very high. We don't have much, you know. Tuo understood. Oh, that's why. The giant tribe were all giants, so they would need a particularly customized battleship. However, it would cost a lot of divine crystals. The giant tribe wasn't wealthy enough to afford a battleship like that. That was why their tribe had never had a battleship. They had to use their physical power to move in the void. How many divine crystals is equivalent to lumber of the life ancient tree? Is it enough to redeem your fellows? And with whom do you do business? Is it safe? Shiryen thought and then asked seriously. Exan smiled. The lumber of the life ancient tree of the Wood Clan is absolutely priceless. I can't assess how much we can exchange for it, but I'm sure it's not just 700,000 divine crystals. And to who we would exchange with, you will know when we arrive at the Broken Star Field. That area has a large-scale exchange market, which is safe and fair. As he said that, Shiryen eased his mind and spoke. Seems you do have a plan, precursor. Yes, I have a target. Exen didn't conceal anything. He's called AI Fu. He's at second sky of original God realm cultivation, which is not really strong. However, he's the owner of the most modern and official exchange market. It's also the safest and fairest market in the Broken Star Field. Shiryen was surprised. If he has only the second sky of original God realm cultivation base, how can he guard the Broken Star Field? What does he depend on? Everybody was curious, but they couldn't explain why. The Broken Star Field was unique. It was formed by countless pieces of broken stars. It was incredibly vast, hiding magical and dangerous things. It even had some original incipient grade materials. Explorers of other races who came to this place could even be at ethereal God realm. If AI Fu had only second sky of original God realm, how could he stand firm and become the owner of the biggest exchange market? He depends on his grandfather, who is at the incipient God realm, Exan said faintly. People then fell into silence. AI Fu's grandfather has first sky of incipient God realm. He secludes and cultivates somewhere in the far west region of the Agate Star area. It has been so many years since he's shown himself. Anyway, in this far west region, all know about him. As long as he's alive, no one dares to provoke AI Fu, Exan said solemnly. Moreover, even though AI Fu's realm isn't high, his entourage isn't bad. They are his grandfather's subordinates. All of them have reached the ethereal God realm. One is even at third sky of ethereal God realm. Oh, Shiryen nodded. He has a powerful background. That's why he isn't afraid of bandits. No wonder why he can still stand in the Broken Star Field. But I don't like this man. He is too cunning, Exen sighed. If we do business with him, he will definitely skin us. I have a headache thinking about this. Sigh. How about you let me do business for you? Shiryen contemplated for a while and then said seriously, You giants are famous for your natural characteristics. It would be better if you let us do the business on behalf of you. Exen's eyes brightened. He pondered and then nodded. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.